Sageo. Shinzuo Sasageo.
No, when you put that in the chat, though,
man.
I was like, what is he saying? And now that you're
You don't know
singing
what's...
it, I know.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I've never seen it written down, though.
Devote your hearts. I guess that's true if you're reading it and
no,
you were
but
not
I was
aware.
listening to it, too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm watching and reading. But
Yes.
I don't know. It didn't click. But I play that song in the car. My kids know that song.
It's an amazing song. Of course, Attack on Titan, I have said this time and time again, has like one of the best soundtracks in all of anime.
Absolutely.
Period. Like every single opening is a banger from like the da 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 to like the da 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 da. Every single one is good. There has never been even the ones I didn't like at first. Like the slower ones I love now and will listen to religiously. So
I feel guilty. I'm not musically inclined. The one that you were just doing, the da da da.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
the
so
opening one? Yeah.
I feel guilty because look at what we're watching. People traumatized by war, soldiers marching, horrors, and then the whole time I'm just like bopping along.
Just like, da, 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 da. Yeah, exactly. Oh man.
Anyway, welcome everyone. We're live.
Hello everybody. Welcome.
I have joining me today Roger's Base and JD Legend will be joining us very soon as well. So the reason I invited Roger is because I wanted a dissenting opinion. I really like the series. I want to have someone who's going to come against me.
Someone who absolutely hates it, apparently, according to your chat. Yeah. My least favorite franchise, apparently, despite the fact that I have gone on record and gotten in trouble multiple times for saying I like it more than One Piece. Like on multiple occasions. I got death threats from people saying like, how dare you, Oda gave you your career. I'm like, you guys got to stop. I'm sorry. We'll talk about it. We'll save it. You'll guide the conversation and we'll get there when we get there. But thank you for having me as always.
So my first guest tonight is Roger's Base, who many people don't know is the one that got me into Attack on Titan.
Yes,
Roger, this was when I was early on in One Piece.
Oh, yeah.
I just reached a certain climactic point and you had me onto your channel. You were the first person to invite me onto your channel. And you invited me in, or you welcomed me into the One Piece community, and you said, now listen, when you finish One Piece, you have to go to my favorite series, because One Piece is my number 2, and Attack on Titan is my number 1. And it took me a couple years. I look back, it's about 3 years. Yeah. But I finally got to it, and you were not wrong. I mean,
I'm telling you, it's fire. I know. Oh, it's so good. The theming is so good. I feel like the other thing about Attack on Titan 2 that I'm sure we'll get into, and I'm fascinated to know like your thoughts on this as someone coming in and like binging it for the first time. Reading it monthly, it was so wild to see the people who just completely misunderstood what this series was and like taking it at face value and not actually looking at the meaning behind some of the actions of the characters. And then by the ending, people being upset that certain things didn't work out a certain way. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but the series was never pro Eren. The series was never pro let's kill everybody.
I don't feel like it ever even came off that way.
Never. But, well, you know, media literacy, of course.
Hold on.
But
there is one. There was one element that I went back and forth on, and it was when we got the stars and when we switched to Marley, and I was like, okay, interesting choice. And I went back and forth on that for a little while where I was like, do I like the way this is portrayed? I don't know. This is looking kind of murky. Oh, no, this is fine. No, it looks murky again. And as I was going through it, I was pretty like, oh, no, this could actually be a problem for this series. Oh, yeah. But I also think that if you follow the parallels 1-to-1, then it doesn't actually make sense. You know, it clearly isn't meant to be an analogy, and you're not supposed to follow it all the way through. So I mean, like, I do have mixed feelings about that one particular element, but overall, I don't think there was any messaging, at least that I came across in the series that I thought was, I mean, to me, it was very anti-war and
anti-war,
anti-fascism and all of that.
110%. I mean, literally the end of it, the very, very end of the epilogue, like the additional chapters they added after the ending with the bird, right? They had the additional epilogue chapters, which I'm sure you've seen, which literally clearly spell out for people who did not understand the series. Hey, by the way, you know how Paradise basically falls into Nazi Germany and you could see them trying to take over the rest of the world? Uh-oh, what's this? They all die by following this like leader who thinks they're doing the right thing, but in actuality is like awful and a terrible human. There's so much stuff in that whole fallout that we got out of the ending, right? Where you see paradise literally being destroyed by their own weapons and constantly being in the state of war, and it literally taking the world, resetting the nature growing over it, right? And then that beautiful image at the ending of the giant tree and the child with his dog discovering it and wondering like, oh my God, is the cycle going to continue or has it actually ended? Is that
or
ideal?
If it continues, will it look different this next time?
Exactly. Right.
Yes. I think it did a really good job of showing that as long as humans exist, so will conflict.
Correct.
Because we all have our free will, right? We all have our ideals and our dreams and what drives us as well. We have the nature and we have the nurture. We have the things externally pushing us in different directions, shaping us, but we also have our own decisions that we are held accountable to. I think that was a very strong theme in this series.
Yes.
And because of all of those elements, we will always have conflict. And it shows us that. And it even goes so far as to say, Eren was right. War continued. It didn't stop.
Yes.
While still showing Eren had to be stopped. And his solution for it was not the way. And his own friends who loved him, who desperately, even Mikasa, who it would give anything to have not ended the way it ended, had to make that choice because this was not the way. So I think the messaging at the end was really powerful because it didn't shy away from the darkness and the reality, and while still posing, we got to get the kids out of the forest.
100%. Yeah. I feel like you brought up a good point too with that ending bit, because I feel like the reason why some people have issues with it is maybe because they did not see the final like volume, or they didn't see the additional pages that were added there. Because the big complaint, and I even felt this when I was reading it for the first time, because people can go back and like watch my reactions to this, because I did all these chapters on stream. But reading that final chapter on stream as it was happening, there was definitely an element of like, whoa, this is kind of strange when you see Eren sort of regressing to his childhood thoughts of being like, oh, I don't want Mikasa to be with anybody else. I love her so much and all this other stuff. And Armin being like, dude, you're way past this. Like, what are you doing? And him saying he did it for his friends. I understand why people had issues with that and potentially the final imagery of the stuff with the bird. But again, I do feel like the way it wraps up with those epilogue pages and even the additional thing of like the Stockholm syndrome, right? Versus Mikasa's true love and what that actually means and like the things that they sacrificed for one another is fascinating, right? You don't necessarily have to be like, oh, this is a beautiful love story, but at the same time, it is just interesting to see how people perceive love and the way in which they give love to others and like what that means and how Eren in those moments believed he was doing something good for his friends, right? But at the same time, it's like, no, you went about it the complete wrong way. So I loved that bit as well. Yeah.
I will say he did say at the end of the series, I'm thinking of the manga specifically, I don't know if the anime said it as well. He did say, I did this knowing you would stop me so that you would be painted as the hero. However, if I didn't see you were going to stop me, if I thought I could get away with it, I'd still do it. I'd still do it.
Exactly. Right.
So it is, there is that, like, he wants this, you know, and that was made extremely clear when he saved that kid in the alleyway and he was confessing to the kid and he was like, I was disappointed. I wanted to get out of this cage. And what I found was a disappointment. And I want this. I want it gone. Right. Yeah. So there is also that very terrifying element of Eren that this is for real for him. And there is that expression. I don't know. I think that element of the end is one of the things that I'm a little bit rocky on.
Sure.
Armin, you know, the whole scene with Armin, not even like the manga line that the anime made better. But just like the tone of it all, so gentle and everything. I got a lot of pushback on that, but that's one thing that I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. Some of the love elements to the story, I was a little bit rocky on near the end, while still loving the ending as a whole so much. Was there any part of the end that you were a little bit unsure about?
Again, so much of it was like reading that initial final chapter for the first time and like seeing what was happening without the fully fleshed out final panels was definitely odd. Like I felt like there were weird choices. It's been obviously a while since I read it live, right? But I do think there were elements of that final chapter that didn't land with me in the way that I think they were intended to land the first time I read them. But especially over time, like I have grown to really genuinely love the ending. And the thing that I felt from the very beginning, which I stated time and time again, in which I was like, I hope to God that Oda is able to pull something off like this. I feel like Isayama from chapter 1, if you go back and read chapter 1 to the final chapter, clearly had a vision in mind, right? That first line from Eren where he says to Mikasa, where like Mikasa's like, why are you crying, right? And he's like, oh, your hair's shorter. Because in that moment, he is literally seeing paths. He's seeing everything happening at the same time. So he's literally watching her kill him as he wakes up from this dream. It's like, it's so good. And the way
that's not the way I interpreted that scene. Tell me more.
Yes. Okay. So how did you interpret that scene?
I
need to hear this. Okay.
Well, maybe
this is fascinating. I love this.
Maybe I was super wrong though. Maybe you can correct me.
Yeah.
So it's a cycle, right? And it's for him, you could read it as a determinist loop, although free will is all over the series. Okay?
Sure.
So if this is the way it always goes, and if we return to the tree with the boy with the dog, and he potentially enters the tree, and maybe his wish is going to be different from and maybe it'll look different. Maybe it won't be Titans this time. Maybe it'll be something else, right? So the idea is that one of the big themes in the series is that as long as humanity continues, the cycle does too, but we have to fight for a better cycle next time. We have to fight for better results in the next cycle, right?
Correct.
So when Eren, when you reset and you go back to chapter 1 and he's in the same position and he wakes up and he sees Mikasa and it's almost like he's woken up from his past life. It's like the cycle began in him too. Like he's now back here again, stuck in this loop, reliving it over and over again.
Interesting.
And that's the determinism for him is he's like, I'm stuck here and I see the past and I know what's coming. Can I get a different result this time? I tried to fight against what was set before me and I failed. Can I do it this time?
I kind of like that. I mean, I also feel like that's
super wrong though.
No. I think that's a valid interpretation. Especially because of the way, which is also why I love this element of the series. It was like a joke within my community where every time something related to time would come up, or like the place where time stands still, right within the paths, I would literally during my live stream just go paths, and everybody would spam it in the chat because there are so many different ways to sort of read how people are perceiving their memories and whether they're actually interacting with them at the same time. Like that moment, reading it in that moment, I remember viscerally my reaction to that chapter where you discover that he's the one that tells his father to kill them. It is like such an amazing moment, right? Because he's gone through the hatred and the cycle of hatred through his mother dying, right? And maybe doesn't necessarily like understand what it is that he's seeing. But in that moment, when his mother dies and the smiling Titan, Dina goes and eats her, at the same time, he's the one who set that in motion. Like he's the one who did, and he knows that he's the one that did that. And I think what's interesting is us as the reader discover within Eren's eyes that he's discovering that he was the one who did it in that moment and never being able to come back from that side of his humanity.
Like that.
So by the time he gets to that point at the ending where he's like, look, I see this, and on one hand, I want you to stop me, but even if you don't stop me, I'm going to do it anyway. Right. That's him again, foregoing his humanity and being like, look, I'm gone. Like at this point, you can't help me. But going in line with your interpretation of the ending, right? I do think both things can be true. Because at the end of the day, like he does want a better future. He wants people to be free. Like, I don't know if you remember this, or I guess you wouldn't, right? Because this wasn't something that you experienced month to month. But Isayama did an interview where he revealed the final panel of Attack on Titan like 3 years before it happened.
No.
Yes. So see, this is why you have me on. Because again, this is great. So he revealed, and all of us in the community were freaking out about this. Like, what does this mean? What the final panel was, which was of a character standing with the baby saying you're free. And that was, now obviously that panel turned out to be his father and him and like the cycle and all that other stuff. But at the time we did not know what that was. And that obviously was not the actual final panel of the manga.
That is such a killer move.
Right. And so many of us were speculating, like, what could this mean? Thinking that Eren actually succeeds, right? Thinking that he did actually end this cycle. And so that opened up like a world of interpretation. That happened at the same time that a lot of the controversy surrounding Marley and the armbands was happening as well. Yes. So there were people who entered in the community who were not reading from the beginning, right?
Yes.
Who were maybe fans of the anime or whatever, and we're jumping back into it. Like, well, what the heck is happening here? Seeing the heel turn with Eren, actually believing that it's going to be like pro-genocide or something, when obviously that is not the case of the series at all.
Yeah.
But speculating that based on the panel that Isayama said the series was going to end on, which in reality, again, was not the actual panel and was a panel from like a flashback, right, within paths that he was experiencing at the same time.
Right.
So that, I think, is one thing that sort of added to it.
Sure,
and again,
sure.
I think I truly believe this. The fandom gets such a bad rap of Attack on Titan. I really do. Because like I have experienced the worst of the Attack on Titan fandom, the One Piece fandom, the My Hero fandom. All three of them. I have experienced the best and I've experienced the worst.
Because you're really honest and you're just like, I'm going to say what I hate.
Lie, of course. And so like the only moment in which I ever had an issue with the series at all was in the lead up between like the Civil War, you know, where obviously you have like the war and then you have the Ackermans and the fighting and all of that leading into when we go to Marley. Once we were in Marley and I'm like, oh, this whole thing is changing. That to me was very, very interesting. And Gabi, I hated Gabi. Gabi, I was like, I hate you. You are never going to be redeemed. You could go back to watch my live reaction. I was like sobbing at the Sasha, literally sobbing on stream at the Sasha death. But then you get what I think is like one of the most brilliant chapters of the entire series, which is the one chapter in the episode dedicated to Falco and Gabi on the farm. And like, actually getting their interaction with like Sasha's family and everything, and then seeing how like the realization that people on the other side have been affected the same way we have been, and that we got to end this because this is clearly the wrong way to go about it. It's peak. It's truly.
I agree with you. The whole Gabi plotline, and I'll admit I was a Gabi stan from the beginning, and I'm just so sorry about that. I didn't expect to get such a satisfying arc from her. I really thought that it was not going to go well, but I loved her for the thematic purposes, right? Like we've talked about indoctrination. As soon as we get to Marley, we see that real strongly.
Real quick, yes.
Oh, it's terrible. And we're seeing her as essentially the culmination of like the product of what this country is trying to create. And so when I expected her to be an extremist to the very end and to be killed in her extremism.
Yeah.
And she was going to be like a display of what this propaganda and this like bid for power and indoctrination for power produces, and the tragedy of her life for it. So I super didn't expect her to actually become de-radicalized and like get a redemption. And I'm so grateful for that.
Further proves that the series is not what a lot of people believe it to be, right? Like that her arc exactly like puts in motion everything that I was saying, that you were saying earlier, right? That again, it's like about ending the cycle of hatred from de-radicalization, right? Like, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm ranting and raving. I'm just like,
no, you're good. You're good. Good. Gosh, what was I gonna say? I can't remember now. No, you're fine. There was so much buildup in themes leading up to season 4 with like the horrors of war, and you're going out to fight for your country and it's glorious, and you come back and it's empty and it's hollow and people die. Like all these things that really establish tone. So when we switch to Marley and tonally, you're like, what? Huh? It's like you have enough of a foundation to kind of have a little bit of faith, I think, in the author and in the series. And that's what I relied on, because I got tonal whiplash when we switched to Marley, and I was like, this doesn't look good on the surface, right? But I had enough goodwill built up based off of the thematics that had been established already that I thought there's got to be something here. If it's a stumble, then we'll deal with it. But I don't think it's ill-intended, and I think it ended up being. I thought that it played out really brilliantly.
100%. And I think you bring up a good point with sort of that split, right? With the expectations, because again, I think there were a lot of people who were reading that like month to month. I almost said week to week, but again, it was a monthly series. It was like there were people who were reading that who I think jumped in because they heard that it was like a time skip, right? And they maybe didn't watch all of the anime or were familiar with it and got back into it and were probably very confused by that tonal whiplash and being what exactly is happening here. Because the reveal of the basement, right? And like all the stuff with his father and Zeke and the ties to the royal family, like people were waiting for so long to figure out what it was in that basement. And even the revelation of like, oh, there's another nation on the other side of the world that's more technologically advanced wasn't enough, I think, for some people. And for me, hey, Jace here too. Welcome.
What's up, guys? Hello.
We're geeking out about Attack on Titan right now. We're talking about the reveal within the basement currently.
Oh, okay.
What we felt at that moment.
I tapped in just a little bit because I had something in my headphones, and I know we're talking about Gabi, and I was like, "Oh, we doing Gabi slander? Like, this is great. Like, this is."
Oh no! I invited the wrong guest.
You see, he's the dissenting opinion. This is people got it all wrong.
Oh,
this is Mr. Wano Hater Rat King over here.
Yeah,
saying he hates Gabi.
Don't bring other baggage into this.
No, so like I started off as someone that wasn't the biggest fan of the ending. I was laughing at the Eren Bird memes. I was laughing at all of that stuff, right? The Mikasa stuff. As I have grown older, right? As I've matured, and I've also, you know, seen some retrospective. I have some different opinions on Attack on Titan. As a whole, I still think it's a very good series. The ending is still, depending on how you feel about it, I understand what Isayama was trying to convey and what you were talking about, breaking the cycle of hatred. Sure. Gabi's kind of like the poster child of that. Like, I get it. I just, for me, I'm one of those people where like I love redemption stories and I'm all for redemption. I just think that Gabi was so reprehensible from start until that very ending moment where Falco, poor little Falco, oh my god, he just loved this girl. This girl's just full of hatred, nonstop, 24/7. He's trying to save her nonstop, and no matter how many times he tries to convince her, nah, I hate him. Hate, all the way to when everything is going to absolute garbage, and she's like, oh my god, these people in Devil Island, they're just people. I'm like, oh my god, Gabi, no shit. That's the first thing that comes to my mind.
She hasn't been through this series with you. Exactly. You watched Reiner realize it. You watched Eren realize it. When it's Gabi's turn, you're like, don't let the kid who's been indoctrinated realize it. I don't have time for her. Shoot her. You didn't say shoot her. I'm putting that in your mouth.
No, but of course, yeah. No, but that's obviously what he's implying because. It's crazy because again, Gabi, the thing that's interesting about it is you go through that arc with her in real time, right? Like I think the reason why people really hated Gabi initially is because we'd only seen things from one perspective by that point within the story, right? And so obviously we're cheering on, like when Armin does what I think is one of the wildest things on the planet, when they save him and you get that moment of him eating Bertolt, right? He transforms, eats Bertolt, turns into the Colossal Titan, and then jump forward into the time skip in which Armin is then thirsting after Annie in the cave, watching over her with Bertolt watching through his eyes is insane. So like, it's not like that our heroes and the people that we love also haven't done things where you're like, whoa, let's step back a little bit.
That's what I said, Roger. Right, I'm like, you can't pick your favorite war criminal. They're all war criminals here.
War criminals, exactly. So when you get to Gabi shooting Sasha, obviously in that moment, we were all freaking out and like sad. And we're like, oh, she's reprehensible. She's never coming back from that. But that's why that one chapter is so important that is dedicated on the farm to literally see these characters' perspective in real time change over and understand that, there are people on the other side. Because again, they were 12-year-olds, right? They were 12-year-olds essentially being told by Nazi Germany, you've got these people on the other side being bad. We got to do something about it. And these two fascist dictatorships that are just constantly pouring hate into one another's sides to go fuel their wars. So again, her breaking out of that, I think speaks more to her character that she actually could, despite the fact she's like 12, seeing all this. Oh, it's amazing. It's such a good series.
And the thing is, I 100% agree with
that. Double down. Double down.
No, hold on. No. But see, you're taking the words out of my mouth. Murphy, stop. I know we're like besties, but stop reading my mind. The point is that I understand all these things, but I gotta have someone to hate, Roger. You understand? I can't just understand everybody. Right,
but there's plenty of characters to hate in this series. You don't have to like
it's
to
not
me.
Just Gabi.
There's plenty.
It's not just Gabi. Trust me, there's plenty.
Okay, let's hear top three most hated characters. Go.
Gabi, Zeke, Despise, and Yelena. 3 of them. Hate them all.
Zeke? Hold on. I'm breaking out the monkey. I'm sorry. I gotta do it. Where is he? Where's my monkey puppet? Where's my Zeke?
Roger.
This man right here, this Beast Titan right here, all right? He was with me throughout the entirety of my reactions for the finale of the series. Man, when I tell you Zeke is like one of the most interesting antagonists in any manga ever, I'm sorry, Zeke, in any manga ever, period, bro. That line, when he finally realizes that he screwed up, right? And you get him emerging out of the back of Eren, waving to Levi, being like, come kill me, buddy. What a beautiful sunset. And you get that moment of redemption where Levi just, whoa, kills him, bro. It's peak. It's peak.
Yeah.
I love Zeke. And Zeke's story, and like, I love him.
Let me give a proper introduction for those that don't know. JD Legend just joined. One of my best friends in the world. Someone who I will and do talk to about absolutely everything. Open invitation on my channel at all times. Make sure to follow both Roger's Base and JD Legend. Jay, what are your overall thoughts on the series? We know that Roger loves it. We know that I love it. Do you hate it?
No, I don't hate it. I don't. I never have. That's the thing.
Good.
The ending didn't even make me hate it. I think it was one of those series that I look at and I'm like, Attack on Titan has everything. It's got everything. It's one of those series. It's like when you think of like Gurren Lagann and you're thinking like Full Metal Alchemist, you're thinking about the classics, like you have to watch this or you're not an anime fan. Attack on Titan is there. It's not my favorite, but I would argue it is probably one of the most cohesive stories that doesn't really end badly. It's just some people didn't like the ending. That's all it was. Everything makes sense. Everything makes sense. I think if it didn't make sense to you, it's because that you were hoping you wanted Eren to be right in the end and to kill him. Correct. That's the only reason why you didn't like the ending, because Eren wasn't right. He wasn't. But nobody was truly right, because the cycle of hatred lets everyone know humanity's never going to be in the right, no matter how much they think they are in. If you look at the world we live in today, everybody that's at war, people that live in the US, we think we're right. People in the Middle East hate us because they do a lot of things that we don't notice because we don't have to suffer through it. In the same way, Russia, they think they're right for what they're doing in Ukraine. In the same way, whatever's going on in North Korea, they think what they're doing is right. Humanity, like, right and wrong is subjective in this world, whether we like it or not. Now, I believe it's subjective, but that's a whole different story. But like, for the most part, when it comes to governing human beings and human beings in nature, we like to pick and choose what is right and wrong. And we try to justify it in the wildest, craziest ways, where Eren is talking about, hey, I'm the freest person in the world. Well, he's murdering everyone. How does that make any sense? So like, I love Attack on Titan for the themes and the deep study of human nature. I love that. I love introspection. I love studying human nature. So overall, great series. Not my favorite, but it was a great series. 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10 is a little rough. I'll take the 8 out of 10. I was going in thinking you might not have enjoyed this at all, because I don't think we've ever discussed in like our 5 years of friendship how Attack on Titan has affected you. And like, again, I have been very honest and open about it and tweeting about it and changing my bios every once in a while. I've been preaching it, but 8 out of 10. Yeah. Little low, I would say. A little low. I would say 8 out of 10, maybe for the final chapter.
Roger's a stand day. We invited
for the final chapter.
Yeah. This is, to me, I don't think any manga is perfect, right? Like, I would never say anything is like a full 10 out of 10. I think there's days where you're feeling like something's a 10 out of 10. I would say the closest I have ever felt to perfection for a series as a whole upon finishing is Attack on Titan to me. I would give it like a 9.8, 9.9. It's like, it's so unbelievably close. I want to jump back to something real quick. Before you came in, Jay, Murphy, you asked me at the time, was there anything that I didn't like about the final chapter, right? And I was saying, I have to go back and think about it. I did think of something. I did actually think of something. Something that I did not appreciate at the time, and I still think is like, this could have been done a little better. The sacrifice 2 chapters before the ending of Connie and John, and them standing there looking at each other like, dude, this is it. This is the ending. Like, this is how we go out. We survived this whole time, but it is what it is. And you see them turn into Titans. I thought was brilliant.
Oh, you wanted to keep it.
I did not like that got reversed at the ending, and that they literally just go back to being clothed, because it's like, what's happening here? Like, what is it? You turned into a giant.
You wanted them naked. Okay, I get it. I
didn't want them naked fully, but I did think that it was bizarre how put together they were But I wasn't looking for full frontal Connie nudity, all right? Like that wasn't
what
I was there for.
That's what I'm hearing. Saying, we need to start an agenda, Jay.
No. There's no agenda here whatsoever. No. All I'm saying is that I think that aspect of it, right? Of them transforming back and that part of it being reverted, because you guys both know this. We've talked about this enough, right? Like I do not like fake out deaths. And I think one of the best things about Attack on Titan is how death happens and the impact of those deaths, right? Like when you get that moment with Erwin, where they have to decide, are we saving Armin? Are we saving Erwin?
That was
incredible. Absolutely incredible. Like the moment in the forest.
In the moment.
Because in the moment, I would have also, I said Armin. I think Armin was the correct choice.
Did you? What about Jay? Yes. Who did you save?
Armin was the correct choice as well. I agree.
I chose Erwin!
You chose Erwin! You are a monster. That's insane. You're talking about agenda for us.
Yeah, I'm about to say
that's a logical choice. I mean, like, yeah, save the kid, but I don't know.
Oh, no.
Erwin had done enough in the story where we did not need him anymore. I thought
he was the most goated of goated characters by that point, right? Like when he rode into the battlefield and they're all throwing the Beast Titans throwing the rocks at them and they're all saying Sasageo, devote your hearts, like go to the ending. By that point, exactly, like Erwin had done everything that he needed to do up to that point and already left it to the next generation. So for me, that wasn't like Hanji and Armin, like that was already the next generation. I was done by that point. I'm like, Erwin, I love you. I appreciate you. Take your rest now. That's fine. So I never was bothered by the Erwin thing at all.
Techie is on my side.
That's wild.
He's roasting me. But Techie is with me. That's what I said. So here's the thing. Okay, my logic was
yes.
Obviously, the themes of the story dictate that you should choose the next generation, right?
Correct.
Yeah. It makes total sense. But if I'm Levi standing there with a battle-proven soldier, and a scared kid who's good at strategy, and I'm friends with the soldier and not the scared kid. And I have a split second to choose. I'm choosing my friend.
Let me ask you something, though. Do you think Levi in that moment, because the way I interpreted it at that time, too, even when I was reading it and then thinking back on it, too, do you think in that moment when he chooses Armin instead of Erwin, right? Do you think he recognizes that if he gave it to Erwin, this is going to fast track Eren's hatred? Because that's kind of how I felt, is that in a world without Armin, keeping Eren and Mikasa in check, it gets to chaos very quick. I'm seeing Tekken going. He was his friend and commanding officer. He was also his boyfriend, to be fair. That's a whole different thing, though, with Erwin and Levi. That's a whole different conversation. So multiple reasons he should have saved it. But I do feel like I think he saw what losing Armin would do, not just to Eren and Mikasa, but again, to that next generation, and knowing that Armin can be trained and Erwin's done what he needed to do already. Like he has inspired them to the maximum amount. He's like, when you have like MP in a video game and you have to refill your MP to get your magic back up, like their magic is already at the full meter at that point. Like he can't go further than where they are. And he realizes that, look, in this moment, Armin still can do more to this world and he still has room to grow. Whereas like Erwin, his story by that point was done. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right from a storytelling perspective. I will say though, I think they still really believed in Eren at the time. So I don't think it even crossed his mind.
I think there were moments of like, hold on, Eren, you gotta reel this back in a little bit. I think throughout the course
and maybe
of the
Levi
series,
had more of those.
And Levi for sure. I mean, Levi was the first one who's like, we are not bringing him along. We got this like hothead who could turn into a Titan over here. I don't want any part of this. You do anything, you're out of line. I'm gonna kill you. Like from the get-go, Levi was like that. So I think he was one of those characters that again saw already what was present within Eren and didn't want to sort of like nurture something that could have taken humanity in the wrong direction,
Right.
Yeah.
Jay, what did you think of it?
I think for me, after that speech Erwin gave, which is arguably one of the best speeches in anime history, by the way, like you can't listen to that speech and not be ready to die, right? It's just one of those things where it's like, wow, okay, that was his peak. I don't think there's anything he could do there's nothing his character could do past that point that would warrant him staying alive after that. And I think Levi noticed that, where he's like, it's probably better to just let this man rest in peace, because I think Erwin dead does more impact for the rest of the Survey Corps than him alive at this point. Because him giving that speech and then actually dying as a result to save them It does so much more. And this is where we go. I'm gonna be careful. We talk about fake out deaths, right? One of those things. Can you imagine how we take that speech if Erwin is still alive after everything that happened? Can you imagine how they would cheapen that speech? It would ruin the speech.
It's a good point.
110 degree. Yeah.
It's a good point because we didn't know. Like with Armin, it was so quick after his sacrifice, which was brilliant as well. It was so quick after his sacrifice, but Eren, he's gone in our minds. And so for Flock to then get him, bring him back, and then we resurrect him in the story or fake out, it would feel a little bit less satisfying than what happened.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, I'm with you. Hey, I'm with you, Murphy. I choose Erwin as well. This man has history and strategy and proven to lead the scouts. Humans had gone through enough that you shouldn't gamble their future on a kid who has promise. And can you imagine? Let's just imagine for just 1 second. Let's just consider Erwin as the Colossal. Would that not have been?
Erwin as the Colossal would have been cool. Like as a what-if, one-off thing, if Isayama ever wants to do it, I'd be down for that. I think it would look amazing. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Natalie, I was really excied to highlight your comment too, but it turns out you're against me, so I changed my mind.
Well done,
That's crazy.
World-class super chat.
This is true. Armin was potential man, and he lived up to it. It's true. We would have been robbed of actually seeing him fully come into his own and stand up to his friend who he had shared a dream with, who he believed in more than anyone else, who even as Eren is, doing a genocide, Armin is still like, but maybe there's something there still for us. Like maybe, they really believed in him, and he chose humanity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And at the ending with Armin too, I think the other interesting thing about it, right, is that he basically takes on, look, I killed him, right? Like I'm the one that killed Eren. Let's usher in this new age. And he understood what that meant for Mikasa to have just gone through killing her one true love, right? And going, you're not prepared for what we're about to do. Let me handle this. As the head of all of us, as our commanding officer, let me do what's best for my friends. And when you get that moment on the ending with the boat, right, where they're all kind of back to like where they were when they were in school, and you got Reiner being a weirdo and like sniffing the letter and all these other like weird aspects of it. I love that because it brought us back kind of like to a simpler time for them, right? We're at the time where we met Reiner and Bertolt and Annie for the first time, right? Obviously, they had already gone through the same indoctrination that Gabi did. Tekking's here. Welcome, Tekking. We got two Erwin stands versus two Armin stands now. Let's go.
Yes.
Annie brought us to Sage. Let's go. All right.
Balance.
Oh, look at you with your jacket.
Perfect balance. I love it. I love it.
Murph, are you wearing green?
Mine's
is that green or is that gray?
I'm wearing gray.
See, yours isn't accurate.
Right. Okay.
No, it isn't. I had a scout regiment one years ago that got ripped up, and I have a military police one, but it's all ripped up and everything. Hello, everybody.
Nice. Welcome.
I saw you were streaming that. I joined in as you were having. I was like, oh, it's Erwin. Like, obviously, like that was like even from the episode, I was like screaming. Like Levi, you could tell was like having an internal struggle. You're like, are you kidding me? Like, obviously, like. But I get it from the storytelling perspective. I do.
Yes, it makes more sense storytelling wise, and it was probably definitely a much more satisfying conclusion. But in the moment, I have a second for people screaming at me from every side. I have 1 second to make a choice. I'm gonna choose the guy who has proven himself on the battleground.
It's the ultimate choice for an author. It's like, do I do this based off of like they're in a story and there's like a plot that needs to be carried out, or do I do on like logically what these characters would do? And
Yep, absolutely.
I'm glad you brought that up too, Tekking, with the idea of like the story, right? And how we planned out certain things. Because again, going through this as a month-to-month reader, I had brought Murphy up to speed to the whole thing with like Isayama revealing the final panel, right? And how that was a whole controversy within the fandom. One of the other things was him mentioning, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Chat, there was a statement from Isayama, right? Where he's like, maybe I have to consider changing the ending because things are looking kind of rough. But it was a troll. He didn't mean that, obviously. But at the time, people were taking that as like gospel, essentially being like, oh, he actually is going to make it like a nicer, more happy ending. And that all of our favorite characters are going to end up living and nothing's really going to happen to them.
Terrible.
And that would have been Yeah, that would have been nonsense.
Oh yeah, I mean, by the end of it, I mean, Eren's a psychopath. They don't walk that back. He killed like 80% of the planet, which is an absurd number. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, like they mention that directly. You know, it's like he's like, I feel sorry about that. It's like, great, you killed 80% of the planet.
Exactly.
I feel sorry about it, but also I do it again.
There's no sorry. Like,
There's no sorry.
That's right.
It's over.
That's right. Roger, I'm just now remembering you brought up a controversial scene and I didn't respond to what you said. And that was when Eren kind of just fell down and he was like, I want Mikasa to pine after me.
Oh, sure.
So I actually liked that scene because I thought it paralleled that kind of duality in him that he showed when he saved the kid in the alleyway. And he said, I was disappointed. I wanted this, but he also felt really bad about it. And it showed that he was like, this is the path I've chosen. I'm determined. Like, it's going to happen. But also, you know, like, it doesn't feel totally good. And he did that with Mikasa too, where he told her, let go of me, move on, take the scarf off. But he's like, but like, also maybe not.
You know,
like, can you not?
Exactly. Teching, we had a whole conversation. We actually have a war going on currently among us. Gabi, thoughts?
Oh, I didn't really care for her character in particular. Yeah, not really.
That's fascinating. I like this. Why taking them?
I don't know. It's just like I see what they were doing when after the time skip, they were like, all right, let's shift over to the Marleyans and let's see what's going on there with like how they're raised and how they go through, you know, war and everything like that. But I'm just like, okay, I see what we're doing. We're getting like new main characters, I guess, or like over here. I don't know. I just never really particularly.
Yeah. She's my second favorite character in the series, but that's fine.
All right, that's fine.
Your second favorite. Whoa. Now you did not say that earlier. Who's your number one?
Murphy is Gabi gang. Oh my god.
Oh, I'm Gabi.
Who's your number one? If it's
Sasha's dad. I don't even know his name.
I mean,
Sasha's father.
I mean,
your favorite character.
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
He was a good character.
Okay.
But
your favorite?
Number one.
Wow.
Okay, let me explain.
Please.
You know,
wait, you're not telling a joke. That's actually your favorite character in the okay. All right.
He's not lying.
So you know how every now and then there's a character in a series that perfectly encapsulates the theme of the story that you most resonate with. So Sasha's dad, not only did he carry two of the best scenes in the series, first with our introduction with Sasha and him telling her, you know, we are not meant to be independent. We need to work together. We need to get together if we're ever going to make any sort of progress. And then we see that come full circle with her saving Kaya, the kid who was left behind when everybody was every man for themselves. And then again, when we get to see that continue in its cyclical storytelling, as we see Sasha, who never got out of the forest, she killed the soldier, which then affected Gabi. So Gabi killed Sasha, which then affected Kaya. So Kaya tried to kill Gabi. And he got to be the one to put down the knife and say, we have to get these kids out of this forest. And to me, that was actually, we'll put this on the screen because we're going to address it. In the fact that there's a Zeke plan of, you know, let's sterilize everyone without their consent, or the Eren plan of let's kill everyone without their consent, or, you know, or the Hanji plan of maybe we'll figure it out eventually. I don't know.
Right.
Hey guys, how about we all just hold hands and get along?
Like, she's the one to research the Titans.
At least
found them interesting.
She's like, that idea might come.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But I'm really glad Isayama didn't go with that idea. The idea of just like, we'll figure out a way that everybody lives in peace. It's like, oh, we're well past that, Jerry.
I sympathize with that though, where you have no good plans on the table and you're just like, stall maybe we stall. Like, I'm sympathetic on that. But to me, he had the ultimate solution. He actually understood what needed to happen. Now, it was idealistic in a world where humanity will continue to be humanity. But I think the real answer is that each of us is responsible for attempting to create a better cycle for the next generation. And if each of us, if enough of us are willing to do that, then the next cycle will be a little bit less horrible, and so on and so on. So to me, I resonated with his themes as well as his story arcs more than anyone else in the story. And he's like my hero of the entire series.
Arthur Browse. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for looking up his name for me.
No, they were spamming in the chat. I was cheating.
Yeah, everyone has been saying Arthur. It's Arthur. How could you not remember? Oh, that's funny.
So going off of that, I'm curious, Jay. I'll ask each of you, but favorite character and why?
I gotta think about this one.
So my favorite character, it was Eren for a little bit, but I think once he went full vengeful, he lost me. I understood why he did it, but he kind of lost me. Erwin, I loved Erwin the most because I just love the charismatic leader, someone that in the face of just a hopeless situation, he's always finding a way to inspire his troops. And there's something about someone that has the gift of speech, charisma, and leadership to inspire a hopeless situation, to have all those guys just charge in against the Beast Titan. It ended up working out, but I just was shocked because when I heard his words, I'm like, how is it possible that even me, myself as a reader, would actually ride in to die? Like, how did I feel that? And it was at that moment where I'm like, okay, there's no other person in the story who will ever move me the way he did with that speech. And he kind of just sat there at my number one for a really long time. Like, there's other characters I like on the side. I can't put them at number one because there's so many characters that have their own individual moments. Like, I'm a big Sasha guy, so another reason why I despise Gabi is because she killed Sasha. How can you like Gabi when she killed Sasha? Oh my god,
Sasha, that's
she
a big
killed
one too.
Sasha.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason to like
her.
Gabi.
It wasn't great.
That's why, like, everyone is like Gabi gang. I'm like, you guys are sick human beings.
Gabi gang.
I'll tell you what, I like Gabi's story more than I like Falco's. I'll say that.
Okay.
Falco,
yeah.
I co-sign that. I agree.
Gabi was a better character. Falco was a little
I will say that.
I ain't gonna lie.
All right, let's trash Falco. Let's go.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, the aspect of Falco that was good. I liked the fact that Falco turned, as a Star Fox fan, I was happy that he literally turned into a bird at the ending. I thought it was quite nice. That ain't Falco. No, I am curious though. Cool, why would you hate Falco though? Because I don't think you hate Falco. You just like Gabi more.
I just like Gabi more. I don't know what it was, man. It's just like we got to that point in the story, and it's like I see Isayama's trying to focus on these characters from Marley, and for whatever reason, I'm just like, I'm not invested with what's going on here. Now, I will clarify, I have only read Attack on Titan once, like all the way through. I have not gone back and read the final arc, like in the manga from start to finish. I should do that because that'll give me, because it's like I read it like years ago, and I have to go back and reread the whole thing to really understand like these depths of these characters, considering what happens. Yeah.
Roger, best character.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Jay.
Yeah, let's go.
Roger might say it. So I want to.
Mine's Historia. I'm just saying that right now.
Oh, wait. Hold on a minute. Somebody, wait.
Wow, that was
Historia.
Historia. I will say that the character.
I'm fully crashing out. Historia is your favorite?
Okay,
no, Roger. Go ahead, Roger. Who's your favorite?
No.
I'm sorry. I can't process and focus with you saying Historia is your favorite. You got to explain.
Nah,
I need to know.
That was just the character I thought of immediately when I thought of my favorite. I don't know if she actually is, but like the scene when she's down in the like little crypt thing and she has to like stand up for herself. God, I don't know if it's just the anime or whatever, but that scene's the most badass fucking scene.
Yeah, it's because
it's such a rad scene. If I sat down and actually thought about my favorite character, probably somebody else. But that's the first person that popped into my head when I thought about this series.
It was just like shocking to me.
Follow-up question. Are you pleased with Historia's arc in the end?
It could have been better. It could have been better. But yeah.
Could have been. It should have been.
I know. I'm like, well, I mean,
with the weight that she held in the story, she just petered out pitifully. I was like,
she literally gets pregnant by a farm boy.
I hate
That's literally what happens.
You had a really badass character, and then all of a sudden it's like, all right, in the final arc. I mean, I get it. She's the queen now, so she's gonna kind of not be like head and foot like right there, but like
Yeah. She got one girl boss panel at the end.
Yeah,
that she gets
that's kind of it. She gets,
but that's all. She was just kind of off to the side, which was a really big bummer because Historia was in my top characters list for a while.
There you go.
And apparently, it was a farm boy that used to bully her too.
Yes,
which is also wild.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah,
because again, that also the parallel there with the original Ymir, too, and the stuff with the Stockholm syndrome and King Fritz, right? Like there's. Again, it's the cycle continuing again, right? That like she's not escaping her royal family's fate. right? She's falling in love with someone who hated her.
Yeah.
Someone who actually went out of their way to make her life miserable, and she's still falling into it. She can't escape the cycle. So on that aspect, I think it's an interesting parallel, right, to the original Ymir, but favorite character. I just
nah, she's not my favorite.
Oh my god.
That was partially me messing with you. That's partially me messing with
personally. He took that personally.
Yeah, I saw your reaction to that. I'm like, all right.
I'm saying this though. I'm saying this before I'm about to trigger everybody in here right now. Right?
No.
Which is why I will say this until the day that I die. I am an Annie defender. I love Annie from the beginning to the end. First off, Annie is the first actual major arc-long shifter villain that we see. And I think her reveal predates, obviously, that amazing moment that all of us reference whenever we think of Attack on Titan, right? Which is the reveal of the Armored and the Colossal. And that offhand random mention where you have to take a step back and be like, wait, what did you just say? Like, what is this? The build up to that moment where they're saying, come on, Annie, let's just go underground. Just prove this to us. And Armin fighting for his life, for the love of his life, being like, Annie, just do this. Just come underground. Please, I'm begging of you. Please come underground. And she won't do it. And you get that panel of her throwing her head back laughing. And I know, again, a lot of people are going to say, boo this man. How could you defend Annie? I think Annie as an antagonist, not necessarily as a villain, but as an antagonist, is just incredibly fascinating. And I think initially I was like waiting for that moment for her to break out of the crystal, right? You have that set up right after her arc is over. And then every arc we're wondering, is this going to be it, right? Is this going to be the time she finally breaks out of it? For it to be in that moment of the scream, right? And after everything's gone to shit, and then now finally she's involved with the story again, and she needs to get caught up to date, but she mentally is where she was before all this other stuff happened to these other characters. And Armin sort of being the one to like guide her back to reality, and her those moments where you see that with her father, right? And reuniting with her dad at the end of all. And again, her father being present throughout the whole course of the story with Marley, leading up to the moments of like nearly the end of humanity. Him being one of the only ones left. So unbelievably good. And again, just her as the female Titan, like her fighting was incredible. The moment in the forest with Levi and his compatriots, like swinging around Petra like this.
That was toxic.
Dude,
yeah, don't remind me. Don't remind me. That was sick.
Man.
That was
like
crazy.
It was
absolutely insane.
I wanted to double check that. I think that's because I had a idea that this was true, but I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
She was kind of semi-conscious during that, which is terrifying in its own right. Because she has like locked-in syndrome, like a coma victim that's just kind of aware of what's going on, but not really. And she was stuck like that Armin, for years.
She knew that Armin was visiting her, right? But she wasn't processing the outside world, right? Yeah. Which is what makes that connection between them also really interesting. And I just, even that moment, one of my favorite moments of the whole series, you can go back and watch my reaction to this chapter. I was losing it when you get the meet cute moment on the boat towards the ending as they're about to go to war. And you have like the, I don't know, I'm a little shy, but I might like you moment with Annie and Armin. Yeah. And then them coming to the realization, like, what the hell are we doing? How are we doing that? Like literally 80% of humanity is being wiped out. We can't go through these shonen story beats. There's no time for this. We got to keep it moving. Like, I loved that. Like them being aware of the fact that us as the reader, we're like, there's simply no way with the stakes currently that we're doing this, and the way that the series actually acknowledged it, I love it. So Annie, I'm a defender. On a troll day, I would say she's my number one.
I like Annie.
I didn't know it was going to be a controversial take. I like Annie too.
Great.
It's
Annie is okay.
Stan, queen, Stan. We stand a queen.
Like
fantastic.
And the reveal for her, unbelievable. Go ahead, Jack.
So good.
I am surprised no one mentioned Reiner. I found
Reiner's not my
interesting.
Oh, I wouldn't say Reiner's my favorite, but I would say he's one of the most interesting in the entire series.
I think he's a good character.
Yeah. He keeps trying. He keeps trying. You gotta give him that.
He does keep trying. He's in my top 5 easy. He was my top 1 for a minute there. Well, no, Levi was always top 1 until.
Okay, so that's. I'm glad you hit that because that is my actual number 1.
Yay!
My actual number 1 is Levi. It's literally Levi, Annie, and Reiner. Those are my top 3 in that order. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm very glad that you said Levi because, like I said, Annie would be my troll answer on a certain day, but my actual favorite character is Levi and has pretty much been Levi since the beginning. Yeah.
I appreciate the diversity in chat.
People saying Reiner gang, and then also Reiner sucks back to back with each other.
There is no,
so funny.
Reiner could have done with less plot armor. I agree. Yes.
See, I disagree.
I need him to stay.
Let's go. Let's hear it. Let's hear this, Murphy. Yes.
Okay. Well, first of all,
good.
As the armored titan, he's meant to be the most durable. But second, he was one of the most thematically important characters in the series, having been on both sides, having been radicalized and then de-radicalized, living for the next generation, keep wanting to give up, but then he keeps standing back up and keep fighting for them. There's so much. And plus, just the kind of split that he had between his warrior and soldier, and you can see the trauma that's been caused by him being a child soldier, but he did commit such atrocious acts, and how trauma played out in him, and seeing what the cycle was doing to him, I thought was so important for the series.
That aspect of Reiner, like the PTSD and almost like dual personalities that dude has, I think is the most like expertly done way to interpret that in like a manga that I had seen up until that point. Because like, well, how many anime and manga are out there like, well, we're 10 years old, time to go be ninjas and shoot fireballs, and we just have no trauma from. I mean, there's trauma, but like, you know what I mean?
Like just under the surface.
But there isn't really.
Exactly.
In your formative years, that would jack
real
you
trauma.
up. Okay,
yes.
You're like,
And Marco was one of my favorite early characters, and his death hurt.
Ooh.
And to find
out
that it was
Marco
Reiner,
so dirty.
They did him so dirty taking the 3D maneuver gear. Oh my god,
so dirty.
I couldn't deal with it, and that was so good for me, because I was waiting on Reiner. I'm like, there has to be more here. Don't just make him like, there has to be something here. And when I got to that scene, I'm like, oh, that one hurt me personally. I have to reckon with that on a very intimate level. I thought that was brilliant.
Oh, loved it. I also feel like the week-to-week / month-to-month experience of Attack on Titan, like Reiner made it such a fascinating ride, because obviously all of us in here are huge One Piece fans. Like we all read it week to week. We know every chapter. Maybe not. Maybe I don't know. Exactly.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, we're all big One Piece fans. And I think we see the constant, is this character going to join the Straw Hat crew? Is this character going to live? What's this character's fate? Is this character going to die? Like the theories are constant. And I think every single story arc, reading it back to back and month to month, people were like, oh, this is the time Reiner's finally going to die. Like this is going to be the moment. This is where it happens. And for him to not die every single time and be the one who watches the pain of his friends, who witnesses Bertolt getting eaten alive by Armin, who goes back to Marley, sees this next generation, watches these kids go through what he went through, the toll it took on his mother. Like there are so many different levels to this stuff with Reiner. And again, just like Tekking brought up too, that almost dual personality split, the desire to be a child again, to just be like a simp for Historia and want to be that sort of person, but at the same time having seen too much, right? He can never be that person. He can never go back to it. No matter how much he wants to go back in time, he cannot. And regressing to his childhood in those moments of trauma, I just think is brilliant. Yeah. Reiner is a expertly written character, and I think one of the big reasons why Attack on Titan works as a whole.
Hi, Rustage.
Hey, Rustage, what's up, buddy? Welcome. You're bringing in everybody in the chat today. See, that's it. You summon us. They see Attack on Titan, and they're like, oh, here we go.
Murphy has a magnetic personality.
Laz is in here too, exactly.
Rustage, Laz, we need you to weigh in. Gabi gang, yes or yes?
Yep. Oh, that's right. We got to know.
Wow, yes or yes is crazy, Laz. Okay.
Yes or yes.
So go ahead. No.
No.
Go.
No, go, Jay.
No.
Kenny might be also my favorite character.
Just say what you want to say.
Okay. All right. So I was gonna ask, right? Most painful death in the series, because this is a series where characters.
My question was gonna be biggest cry moment.
Okay.
Oh man.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Where you
All
know.
This is tough. I actually have to go back and think. Part of me wants to say I think it was Sasha, but the thing was with Sasha, I was spoiled on the Sasha death just prior to reading it. I saw the spoiler and I did my reaction. I told everybody, I'm like, look, and it still hit. I was still crying. I'm trying to think of like the other moments in which I was absolutely sobbing. Come back to me.
A character,
I'm gonna go back and look.
Okay, like a character I kind of knew was gonna die by the end of this, and with the death flags were pretty high for a couple of chapters beforehand. I really wanted Hanjay to live. I really wanted her to make it through. And but her death, though, the way that he did it, where like she looks up and she's like, she's not even aware she's dead yet. Like she's in the other realm, but she's not there yet. She opens up her eyes and like all of the dead people, like Erwin is there and everybody. And I'm like, okay, that was a nice way to do it, but I didn't want her to die though.
So the first answer I thought of, and what I wrote down too, was Hanji, because even though, as you said, like it was foreshadowed, it was clear what was going to happen here.
Yeah.
But it was just so well done with her not wanting to look cool going out, and then the cape catching fire and the score, of course, accompanying it. It was so good. But I'm gonna say even more so is the unnamed kid when Eren. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, of course.
When Eren's giving his speech as the Titans are walking over, crushing everything, and we watch his face get crushed. It was a little bit too much for me.
Morbid.
I think, thinking back on it, I think it was Erwin. I think it was Erwin at the time. Because again, Sasha having been kind of spoiled for me, I think
he had a name.
Ramsey, yes, Ramsey. I want to say it was Erwin, but another moment that actually really got to me was Levi in the forest before we think he's dead, right? Before he actually like loses his limbs and before he's in the wheelchair, right? When you think like he's got him, he's got Zeke. This is it. This is the moment. It's over. And it goes the opposite direction, I think was also like a shocking moment to me, because by that point of the story, I genuinely thought, you know what? Like he could kill Levi here. Like, I see a world in which Isayama could actually pull the trigger.
No, he can never do that. Character. Levi can't die. That's like his superpower. It's impossible for him to die.
How satisfying, though, was it that Levi did finally get his kill?
Finally, after so long.
Finally got him.
Finally
Levi
got
has
him.
you in his sights, you're dead. It's just a matter of how long it's going to take.
So
Yes, and it was an agreement, too, on the part of Zeke.
When Zeke literally is looking at the sunset and saying, look, it's time for me. Hello, come get me, was just beautifully done. Yeah.
This is a great comment. And it's from T-Scene of all people. Hey, T-Scene! This is my artist.
Garp would choose Armin.
That is toxic.
That's true, though. That's totally true. He would.
Absolutely, he would.
Erwin is to Armin what Garp is to Kobe. 110%. Yes.
Yeah.
Jay,
which one made you cry?
So there's a lot of ones. The Hanji one hurt me, right? Definitely hurt me. It's the saddest one. The one that I remember the most is when Grisha's sister was killed. When we first got the Marley flashback, that was horrifying because it was the scene afterwards where that scumbag lied about what happened, and the father knew he was lying, and they had to accept it anyway. And Grisha having to watch that after how much he valued his sister, wanted to protect his sister, and then trusted the officer would take her back. That was sickening. That made my stomach.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how revolutionaries are made. There you go.
Yeah, literally, right. It was at that moment. It was at that moment where I was like, "Yo, Marley got to burn. They have to burn." Like I'm telling you that. That's imprinted on my mind. I don't care what reason Marley had. I wanted them to burn. Like, that's it. So I understood Grisha to a certain degree. The only reason Grisha lost me is because of what he did to Zeke. That's the only reason why he lost me. Otherwise, I was all in on Grisha's whole narrative about destroying Marley.
The Grisha scene. So yes, that was terrible. The fact that he didn't want to, that he's like, I'm a doctor. I can't kill these children. Right. And it was Eren in his ear that got him to do it. But it was the voice acting afterwards as his character can't even stand up straight, and he's screaming out just into the sky about what was the line, Roger? Something along the lines of "Are you happy now?" or something like that.
Well, again, though, the lead up to that moment, I think the reason why it was so shocking to so many people who were reading it month to month was that Eren, up until that point, right, had been shown to be doing things that are potentially not going to be the best for humanity. And as he's walking through and seeing his father's story with Zeke, and we're meant to think at that moment of the story, Zeke is the big bad, right? Zeke is actually the one we should be cheering against. When you get that revelation that he was the one in charge of Grisha killing all of them, and how that affects Zeke moving forward, as you mentioned, Jay, but also how that then affects his own childhood. And that moment when he's looking outside and Grisha is about to leave and talks about the basement to child Eren, saying, when you come back home, I'll show you what's inside the basement. He's talking to Zeke and Eren outside their house. And the way that, again, that is done within the series, where you don't actually see who's out there, because Isayama knew at that point in the story, that's who he's talking to, that's who he's referencing. And like knowing that he was speaking to somebody else in that moment when he's turning his head, so good. And again, the apology to Zeke as well, where Grisha's saying, I'm sorry, Zeke, knowing that that's what's putting in motion everything moving forward. Yeah, so good.
There's scenes like that make me so excited for a rewatch, because there's so much. And I tried, like when I tell you I tried to engage with this story to my best ability. I was taking notes. I'm trying to catch the foreshadowing. I'm trying to put together the clues before the reveals come. And even with the effort that I put in, I'm like, I know that there are things in here that I can't have seen until I see it again. And stuff like that is exactly what I'm talking about.
Did you see Reiner and Bertolt being the Colossal and the Armored before that reveal happened?
No!
Oh, that's so good. Good.
No, and there's so many people that say it was obvious because Reiner looks like the...
I didn't know.
It wasn't for me at all.
I didn't know. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Four of us.
These people are gaslighting me.
No.
Because the reveal, that quiet, like, I'm the Armor, he's the Colossal.
We gotta tell him.
Good. It was so good. And the Annie reveal I fought for, because I was like, okay, I can tell that we're about to get this reveal. So I have to go back and I have to find her. So I went through every volume and I tried to piece together clues, and I'm looking at all of the women and I'm like, okay, what she looked like, what she's saying. And I keyed in on a couple things with Annie where I was like, why are you disillusioned with the military? Why are you saying all this is pointless? I hate all of this. Why are you here then? Right? Like certain things like that made me suspicious of her. But I did guess her, but it wasn't even an assured thing, to the point that when they're trying to bring her down to the tunnel, I'm like, oh, why is she saying no? Why is she scared? Like, I'm still dumb. Even though I guessed her.
There's got to be something else going on here. Yeah. Maybe she's just claustrophobic. I mean, who knows?
There you go. Exactly. It's got to be that explanation, because Annie would never do this to us. Exactly. No, the other thing with Reiner, which I found fascinating, and talking about wanting to go back and like see the foreshadowing, right, is when you look at the moment in which Annie crushes him, right? Yeah. When you see her literally crush him, and then the smoke is coming off of him, but in the moment you're thinking it's the smoke from the attack, right? Like the heat of the maneuver gear, but in reality he's already healing in that moment. Or when you get the attack within the castle with Ymir, right? Where Ymir busts down and he unwraps the thing and you can see the steam coming off of the bandages, and you're like, oh my God, of course it was right. Of course he was healing in that moment. But you're not thinking of it in the moment, because again, Isayama is a master at like diverting your attention to other stuff that's more important at the time. You're focused on the stuff with Ymir and their relationship, and all the stuff with Historia and their relationship as well. And you're not thinking about the fact that, like, of course, Reiner's able to heal again so quickly because he's a Titan.
There was a lot of subterfuge with that. And I mean, like, authors have to be clever about that nowadays more than ever, because you have the internet. So like, you know, just because of like all the theories that exist out there, somebody's going to guess it, right? But you have to be like, well, maybe not, right? Somebody probably guessed what the One Piece is at this point. Like once we finally find out, I did it. It's this person right here on this Reddit post from 2012. It's right here.
This is the one that was pointed out to me when Ymir.
Yeah.
About?
Yes. Where he's about to bite his hand.
About to jump off the building, you see Bertolt going to bite his hand, which I didn't even see. It's so good.
Amazing.
Are there any Are there any reveals that you didn't that were a huge surprise to you, kind of like that, but something more like plot?
I mean, the massive twist of Eren being the fact that the Attack Titan communicates through time and like the past and present, and I'm like, oh, so Grisha wasn't the evil dad that we thought he was. It was actually, oh, that is so messed up.
Yeah, that's a good one. There was one of those. Go ahead, Jay.
No, lads just said the one for me. The truth behind the Smiling Titan actually being
Eren's
mom.
Oh, yeah.
That was such a good one.
So good.
Not Eren's mom. Oh, Grisha's original wife. Sorry, not Eren's mom.
Correct. Correct.
It was almost as if like, and the fact that she's the one that ate Grisha's second wife. I'm like, I'm sick. That is
It's
sick.
so good.
It's just like, oh my God. It was like, yeah, I couldn't.
Along the lines of the Grisha reveals, for me, it's also the basement. I think the basement, knowing, like, and again, waiting month after month after month about what's in there, and literally seeing this whole thing about Marley and the flashback and his former family and the stuff with Zeke and Zeke being Eren's brother. There's just like so much that was packed into that one little flashback that I just remember my jaw being on the floor the entire time I read that.
So I remember I actually stopped. I read like the first arc of Attack on Titan, and I did not read it after. I was way out of the loop for a long time. And every time someone in my chat would bring it up, like, are you reading Attack on Titan? I'll be like, did they get to the basement yet? And be like, not yet. I'm like, all right, I'll worry about it when we get there. And then finally someone messaged me like, they're about to get there. It's like maybe a couple chapters away. And I'm like, okay, now I will get back into it because I want to see what this is.
Did you find it satisfying when you got
I found it very satisfying. Not what I expected it to be. And it's like when they pulled out the photograph, I'm like, oh, it's going to be like a future land outside of the, oh, okay. I love that type of stuff. I love that. The technologically advanced place that was over here and you were on an island the entire time. I'm like, oh, okay. That's good.
Right. I think I expected it to be a Titan or like, I expected, I thought that Grisha was a baddie and like he was injecting people and he was the problem because of certain things with Mikasa that I misunderstood. When she gripped the knife and it fractured and the floor splintered when she went, and I was like, he's injecting her with something. She's his patient. And of course we saw him injecting Eren with something too. Yeah. And so I was full sus of him. So I'm like, he's gonna have this whole laboratory of these dismembered Titans and people, and he's got people in cages. And I was ready. And so when it was a drawer and it was a picture, and I was like, oh.
So
you were expecting them to go down there and it would be like Jigsaw's like murder dungeon.
Exactly.
Just like, oh God, what was the Grisha?
It's Vegapunk's laboratory. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's exactly what I pictured.
One of the other reveals, thinking about it too, that was not necessarily shocking, but one of those moments where I was like, oh, Isayama, I knew, like, you were seeding this out and I was thinking it might go in this direction, but then you zigged and I thought you were going to zag. And then when it finally ended up being true, Ackerman, the history behind Kenny and Levi and Mikasa and the Ackermans, and the way he then played on that when Eren has that moment where they're all in the room discussing what they're going to do in the future. And Eren basically tells Mikasa, it's not like you ever loved me. It's just literally you're basically programmed to be that way.
Yeah.
And trying to throw her off the scent. The way that he played with what the Ackermans truly were and like their power and that connection between Levi and Mikasa and sort of understanding why they're as strong as they are within the course of the series without actually turning into Titans. Because I think so many people were also like, oh, one day they'll turn into Titans. It's going to be this whole big thing. But no. Like there's more backstory to that. I thought was very fascinating. Yeah.
Definitely. We've had a couple more super chats of people telling us more of the foreshadowing things, which this one I didn't even notice. This was such a good one. Armin tells Reiner and Jean to keep their hoods up when fighting Annie. Fighting Annie, yet Reiner pulls his down right before it's going to attack her. So she knows
right. I forgot about that. Yes. Super
good. One of my favorite things that made me cry on rewatch was the people cheering for the scouts before retaking Eren home. The way Erwin was so happy broke me. There were a couple of scenes like that. I think that's something that I harped on a lot, is I think that the cyclical nature of the writing of this story is something that really, really struck me, because there were so many scenes that when we bring them full circle, and when it came to the conclusion, because thematics were so important to the series, it just made it punch so much harder for me.
Yeah. On that point of like the cyclical writing, there is a theory that the way I thought this was going to go for the longest time, and Isayama like subverted my expectations with that, was I was certain it was a time loop. I was certain like you're going to get to a point where it's like Eren goes back 2,000 years ago and somehow kickstarts the whole thing, and it just is a constant loop, and it's not the direction it went. And I'm like, okay, so that was good expectation, I guess.
Because again, it was all him. It was experiencing, because we were literally just talking about it before you guys came in here. About that he was experiencing everything at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? That it was that moment where he's crying in the beginning, looking at Mikasa with the short hair and goes, oh, you changed your hair.
Yeah.
He's thinking back, excuse me, she has the long hair in the beginning. And she had short hair when, obviously she kills him. And he's like, oh, your hair got longer. It's just, so good. So good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is true for Grisha as well as for Zeke, which I wanted to circle back to because, Roger, you were saying how much you love Zeke, and I would love to hear Jay build a case against Zeke because you said you don't like him, right? And I would love to hear Roger build a case for him.
Pro Zeke?
Pro Zeke.
Cool. And then we get to be the arbiters. Nice.
I don't know if I want that in my bio, or people clipping that out saying I'm pro Zeke.
Roger is
Zeke
disappointed that too many people had clothes in the end, and pro sterilization.
No,
he's pro youth. Yep, pro euthanasia. All right,
absolutely not the case at all. No.
But you said you like his character, so I'd like to hear. I'd like to hear the why not and why. So Jay, I'll let you go first.
I think Zeke is a similar case to Gabi, where you can understand that this is someone that's been manipulated their entire life. Zeke has never had an original thought his entire life to the very end. Nothing that he does is original. He is literally just someone that is constantly manipulated, but then props himself up as this hero with a grand plan. He's manipulated by his parents. He's manipulated by that doctor, the original Beast Titan. Then he gets manipulated by Eren. And then at the end of it all, he's just like, you know what? It's a great day. That's his only original thought in the entire series, is that it's a great day. I'm sorry. I understand you, but you are nothing appeals to me at all. Nothing.
So where would you, Jay, as a response to that, where would you say like personal responsibility begins with Zeke then? If it's like, his entire, go ahead. Yeah.
So I love that you asked that, Tekking, because a lot of the times we like to understand why somebody does the things they do. But at the end of the day, you are always left with a decision to make. No one can make a decision for you but yourself. It's point blank. Zeke had such a lack of identity that he allowed himself to be influenced because he was looking to be influenced. He couldn't have an original thought. Blame his parents 100%. That's fair. But at the end of the day, when I see something like that, I cannot respect it. I can't, and I feel for it, but I cannot respect it. It's why I don't like Gabi so much, because Gabi is just such a warmonger. Of indoctrination, when she knows her people are literally looked down upon, but she's twerking for them 24/7.
Twerking for them, bro.
Yes, I don't care. And it's like, she's 12. Falco's 12.
Hey, I would say, that's the point. I would say the scales of personal responsibility, like it ends at a certain point when you are an adult and you could start thinking of things maybe a little bit more rationally on your own. I would say Gabi being like a kid still, like, all right, she can't really make that.
That's why Gabi's less of a sin, and I like Gabi more than Zeke, so that's fine.
Zeke, though, by like the time he was like in his late teens, early 20s, should have started like maybe wait, this isn't right,
Yeah, I thought the scene with Gabi, and sorry to derail the thing that I assigned, I thought the scene where Gabi and Falco are both watching the horrors around them happen, and Falco's like, this is them retaliating. This is because of what we did. And Gabi says, yeah, but did you see us do it to them? I didn't. I'm seeing this. It's like, it's such a great look at someone who's capable of seeing their surroundings and responding to it and being disillusioned by what's being told and what's actually happening, and someone who's just totally drank the Kool-Aid and is all in and is blinded by everything around her, which is again why I'm so happy that she was de-radicalized, because Tekking, you weren't here for this, but I thought she was going to be killed. I thought she was going to be a true tragedy. So I was so happy with her arc.
I could have seen her dying too very easily. Yeah.
Go ahead, Jay. Defend your boy, your favorite.
I was gonna say I'm gonna defend him. I'm gonna defend him because I feel like because you said Jay. Oh, and Jay was like,
sorry, Roger.
I knew what you meant. I knew what you meant. Don't worry. I knew what you meant. Here's the thing. I agree with everything Jay said. Literally everything he said. That is why I find him so fascinating. I think that character, wanting nothing more, thinking that he's doing the right thing, right? Her dying would have been nice. That's a different conversation for the Gabi stuff. Let's stick to the Zeke thing for the time being. That moment in which you get him, right, achieving his idea of his master plan within the paths, right? And he's like, finally, Ymir's going to choose me. We're building the sandcastles, paths, all this good stuff. And she chooses Eren. Is that moment of realization to what Jay just mentioned, which I thought you put brilliantly, which is that he's never had an original thought in his body. He's been manipulated the entire way. That is when he finally realizes all of the stuff that I've been doing, all the things that I believed in, even down to even, which is why this is so freaking good. Isayama is so good. Even down to the Beast Titan chucking the rocks like baseballs, right? And then inherently in his mind, again, bringing him back that theme of like reliving your childhood and remembering what you grew up with and like how that's affecting you as an adult. That flashback with his mentor / father figure, with the, with like the old Lamb Titan, and wanting to be like him, wanting to be like that previous Beast Titan, like wanting to achieve what his father figure wanted him to be after his actual father abandoned him and went all the way back to paradise. Like, what else was he left to do? Of course he's going to drink the Kool-Aid, because Grisha didn't believe in his son. Grisha straight up left. If anything, don't be mad at Zeke, be mad at Grisha. Grisha, and again, even then, you can't be fully mad at Grisha, because again, it's bringing it back to Eren, which again makes the whole thing fascinating with like the time stuff and the memories within the paths, right? Because Grisha and Eren both had these memories, right? They saw all of this. Poor Zeke is out of the loop. My man's jumping around like a monkey throwing rock baseballs at people because he doesn't know any better. He has been indoctrinated and manipulated.
That's an interesting point since you bring it up.
His whole life. Right. He didn't have that choice, which is again why it's not that I am pro Zeke. It is that in that fight, because again, Levi is my favorite character. Zeke and Levi, that was like the biggest ongoing rivalry in the history of this story, time and time again. Cutting him up, slice him in the back of his neck, trying to stop him, having him be the one that kills Erwin. Levi wanting that moment of revenge, literally almost killing Levi. Like, there's been so many moments. Even Levi in the forest, him sending out the other Titans to go kill him. And you get Levi's Jesus moment in the forest upon his crucifixion. Like, so much good imagery there, bro. It's so good. And so, again, for me, it's not that I am pro Zeke. It is that I find Zeke a much more fascinating character than I think people give him credit for. And you also have to remember, again, going into this month to month, right? As somebody who is experiencing this blind, when you get that revelation, the first time you ever see Zeke, where he climbs up and he's the Beast Titan and he's saying, show me that 3D maneuver gear, right? And he has the guy handed over and just kills the dude anyway. Bro, it's so great. And he speaks, because that's the first time you've heard anything other than like a guttural, like, from a Titan, is you literally hear this dude speaking. There was, of course, the OVA with the other guy that was like, Ymir, whatever. That's a whole separate thing. But like in the main story, the first time you ever hear a character say that, or a Titan say that, was Zeke. And so that was also like this massive revelation and this air of mystery surrounding it. And who is this cool, older looking dude with the glasses who we believed at that point was manipulating everything? When in actuality, again, the mastermind behind the entire series was the protagonist of the goddamn series. Like, it's peak. I'm sorry.
You know, when you explain it like that, it really does kind of like he was subverting a lot of stuff with this story.
Absolutely, which is what makes it so brilliant, because he subverted all of these expectations, knowing he was going to do it from chapter 1. Which is why I got in trouble for saying this, and obviously it was a half joke, but I was like, Oda could never, right? Oda could never, because we've seen time and time again.
I agree.
He couldn't. Whoa, hold on.
Do.
Could we have this on the record from everyone agreeing with me on this? I need Twitter to understand right now that I am King and JD Legend agreeing with me in the call about this.
There are moments in One Piece that like I've seen that Oda has had to retcon that, and I'm like, okay, but it's okay because it's like a 20 fight. He didn't expect it to be as long as it did. You know,
Tekken, I already loved you. I love you even more. Okay, I loved you even more for this. The fact that Mr. One Piece fanboy himself, Reddit's God,
will say,
the god of pirate folk, the only One Piece YouTuber.
Oh my god, the Reddit Lord. Oh my god, Reddit loves Tekken.
I will say,
Tekken, he's agreeing with Rogers Base. Oda could never. 2024 in an Attack on Titan stream. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I will say that in this story, which Attack on Titan lasted what was it like I know the anime lasted like around 10 years. I don't know how long the manga, when exactly it started, but yeah, it is very clear that Isayama had this planned, or the story structure, when it first started. Oda has gone on record plenty of times and said like, oh yeah, like I had no idea for the supernovas that was included because of editor interference, or not interference really, but like you should add more characters here, and he's like, okay, and then he added a bunch of them in. So it's like, yeah, there's that stuff happens. It's almost like 30 years he's been doing this.
Of course. And again, it's not a slight. Whenever I said it was not a slight against Oda, right?
No,
it's literally just not. It's to the quality of Attack on Titan. Me saying this about Attack on Titan is not a detriment to my love of One Piece, right? When I said consistency wise, Attack on Titan, I think beat for beat is better than a lot of aspects of One Piece. Now, obviously,
okay,
One
that
Piece
one
is
is a
over.
different, yeah. That's a different
One
kettle of
Piece,
fish.
One Piece has not ended yet, right? And I think there's no realistic way to make that argument until One Piece ends. And I think even then, especially for all 4 of us, right, who are content creators in this space, there's no way to even, I think, actually realistically make that comparison until long after One Piece is done, right? Actually looking back at the foreshadowing and seeing how he laid certain things out. Because, again, much like Isayama was known to lie, Oda lies all the time as well. Oh, One Piece is going to end in 5 years. Oh, this character's going to... Like, we know this about him. It's not a negative thing. It's just them trying to subvert expectations for the fandom.
Attack on Titan, like somebody in the comments, Attack on Titan has consistency factor over One Piece. Yeah, because, like, Oda originally intended it to be 5 years, and then it's just like, well, no, the story is I want to do this now, I want to do this, and it just kept going longer and longer and longer. Isayama had this planned out from like day one. Like this is how long this is going to go.
I'm hearing this out of Tekken's mouth.
No, I mean I agree.
I feel so vindicated. I know.
Just to like share all the same opinions.
Oh, I love it.
I agree.
What did y'all think about the time travel aspect? Did you?
This is my Christmas present, Murphy. Thank you.
The time travel.
Oh my God!
I'm Merry Christmas, Roger. I'm glad I could be Santa. I'm glad I could be Santa. Okay.
Yeah, but I love everyone in this call. Everybody knows this. Obviously, you guys are some of my favorites.
Like, favorite.
But now he might have. I'm going to be on Reddit today. I'm on Pirate Folk. My favorite One Piece YouTuber is Tekking.
I might go out to LA again this summer for AX. So maybe
you are more than welcome to come.
Maybe hang out again. Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
Open
you didn't have a guest room before, but now Roger's going to build a guest room.
That's not true. That's not true. Tekking, that is not true. Tekking came to my house and then we all got COVID. That's literally what happened.
Wait, is that where I got fucking COVID?
Yes, because Rusty, it was you, me, Rusted, Shofu, Reagan, and then of course we were all together, and literally half of us got COVID after that night.
That's what did it, because I kept thinking it was being at AX for like 3 days with like 20,000 other people.
That's what it was.
And then we went to a Dodger game after, and I'm like, I could have gotten it there, but I stayed in California for like a week after that. We went to Yosemite. I spent the entire time in like an Airbnb because I couldn't even go out because how sick I was.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That's wild, man. That's wild.
I know I got COVID. I didn't know where I got it. That was the question.
It's Anime Expo at Roger's house. That's it. Yeah, exactly it.
Time travel.
Oh, time travel. Yes, I'm sorry.
Time travel.
I'm sorry, Murphy. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I
talking about sharing germs. It's fine. Never mind. A lot of people will mention that there are plot holes with the time travel element, and other than just the fact that there is always a paradox when you do time travel, I really just didn't find any plot holes. But maybe it's me. I mean, how did you guys feel it all played out?
I have to reread that whole time travel, the whole memory plot to really fully understand it. But I thought it was done way better than I think it was done in other series. Yeah.
Agreed.
I think I can be open and say I didn't 100% understand what was going on, because you're saying Eren influenced past events as if he knew what was going to happen, but he still ended up losing and dying. So like my thing is like, is it the moment that he interacted with Ymir that he went back into the past to influence events to happen? So it's just like
there's a bit of a bootstrap paradox.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Like that's the weird
explanation for this,
because I was very confused by that.
From the moment he realizes he's the coordinate, things change within him. So when he touches Dina, right? You know that it's like chapter 50, I think, of Attack on Titan. It's like, right?
I remember the scene.
When he touches Dina, from that moment on, things change. Prior to that point, Smiling Titan.
Grisha's wife.
Okay.
First wife. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Dina Fritz. Yes.
My man. There you go. So when that moment happens, right? Which is why I was mentioning the whole thing that in that moment at the beginning of the series, where it is that he is experiencing his own death and also seeing Mikasa killing him, to him that is a dream. It's to him thousands of years. He doesn't know what it is that he's experiencing. But from the moment that he interacts with the coordinate, which is obviously the whole reason they were going after Eren in the first place, because they knew that he was the key to all of this.
When he interacts with the royal
he begins to understand more and more and see more things within the paths over the course of the series, right? It's like he is discovering it in real time. Excuse me, I keep hiccuping. He's discovering it in real time the same way that we are. So he's not fully aware of what it is that he did in the past, because the past has already happened. You know what I mean? Like him as an adult has already influenced his past, but him as a child, he has not yet experienced the thing that allows him to not only see the future, but also the past lives of everything else that is everyone else who's also been the coordinate, the stuff with his father. So he genuinely doesn't know as a child, right, that his father injected him and turned him into a Titan and had him eat him. He doesn't know as a child that Bertolt and Reiner are the Colossal and the Armored, right? He doesn't know he doesn't know that he sent Dina to go eat his mom. And he even says that in that moment, right? He mentions when he comes to that realization, like, I'm a horrible human being. I literally killed my own mother. Like, when he puts 2 and 2 together, it's that moment that everything starts to change for him. And he starts to discover more of what he actually did. And I don't think he fully honestly realizes all of it until the moment within Paths where he's walking with Zeke, right? I think upon them finally touching and that full story being revealed, I think that is his key moment. And that, again, is interesting because that also means that was the apex of the rumbling, which of course is like, you know, the thing that kills 80% of humanity. And so just as people are dying off, it's coinciding with his own revelations of his past and his unfortunate future. Yeah. If that makes sense.
What about when he kissed Historia's hand? Because he also had another moment.
Was that before or after the moment?
That was after. That was after.
With Dina. Right. Yeah.
All of the things.
Because at that moment, I have to go back. It's been a while.
Yeah.
That was when he was experiencing the memories of Historia's ancestor, right? Like, it was not Gracia's memories. He was experiencing the memories of her. Oh my God.
The Reese family.
What was the Reese family? It was the Reese family, but it was the girl who was the previous Attack Titan.
Frida.
You got it, Jay.
Thank you. Fritos, exactly. Right. That I think is what triggers that memory. I have to go back and reread it, but I do think that is why us as readers experience that in that moment, is because that is him understanding the path of the previous owner.
Was the way I interpreted it. Like when the first time with Dina, he was like, what was that? And then the second time with Historia's hand, he was like, wait a minute. Okay, now I'm starting to get what this is.
Yes. Right, yes.
Yeah. So the way I took it, was Alan here? I didn't see him. The way I took it was when took Eren's agency, so switching now to Eren's agency, was they made a comment when they were facing the Rice family, when it was Grisha, Zeke, Eren versus Rice. And there was a comment about how the Attack Titan is meant to be the balance to the Founding, in that the Attack Titan is supposed to keep the Founding in check from being taken over by its own self-righteousness. So, we see that with anyway. So the way I took it is when Eren took control over the Attack and the Founding, he lost that balance. And that was why he couldn't really fight, because he mentioned, I tried to fight fate. I tried to change the time. I couldn't do it. Right. And that's never really explored as far as, well, how hard did you try? Did you try a little? And then you were like, it's too hard. Or like, were you constantly fighting it? Was it a matter of, well, I want this, so why fight it? Which is kind of what we saw in the alleyway with the kid. Yeah. Where, but even that scene was pretty chopped up. So to me, I took it kind of as that balance of knowing what's to come, but still having your own agency. It kind of crumbled when he took on the two that were meant to balance each other. Do you think
it's like his internal? No, I actually think you're spot on. I think his like internal rumbling, right? Like the falling of the walls. Yeah. That was like the breakdown of the boundaries. No, I think you're completely spot on. And again, that goes in line with all the stuff that I was saying earlier, right? Again, he's discovering it as we, the reader, are discovering these things. So no, I think that's a completely valid read on that. Yeah.
Alan and Jay are aligned. Best character, Erwin.
Agreed.
Alan is also Gabi Gang. I would just like it to be known.
Yeah, I wonder let's check on that poll really quick, Murphy. Where's that poll at?
90-10 Gabi Gang.
That toxic poll.
I don't know what you mean.
Oh, man.
I don't know if you want to.
Gabi won! That's so nice.
That's so crazy. It's a Christmas miracle.
I'm so happy.
This is the best stream of the year. I'm so happy. Now everything has been going right today. This is great.
I know. This has been a Roger win stream.
I feel right, especially when before we started and that guy was like, "Oh, Roger's such a hater of AOT." I'm like, just you wait.
I think if nothing else, this stream
has
has convinced me to go back and do a complete I've never sat down and reread the entire thing, like from the manga. I have to get.
You would get like you're gonna get millions of views. I'm telling you right now, people are
okay.
gonna love it.
I was just
telling you.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Whoa, it's like millions of views.
All
right.
On the farm.
Please.
Okay.
We need to talk about Ymir. The original
Ymir.
Yes, the original Ymir.
The original origin of trauma.
The starter of it all.
The singularity of trauma.
Syndrome that
the Stockholm singularity. Exactly right.
Yeah. Out of every character in the story that I sympathize with the most, it is Ymir. That is
of course.
Story. That is terrible. Like from beginning to the end, just used and abused. It's one of the worst things I've ever seen. To have so much power and ability, but only be a tool your entire life to the very end. It hurt me. Her story hurt me.
Man. That's the message. Yeah.
Also, this goes back to something else you brought up earlier, Murphy, which is the reveals. Bruh. The reveal of her daughter's names being the walls was like amazing to me.
I thought you were going to say the reveal of her daughters eating her corpse.
That's crazy too. That's also crazy
how
too.
it began. That's how it began, passing down the Titan gene.
Yes.
Isayama could have done some magic bullshit with that. He didn't have to have it be like cannibalism.
That's what
it was.
Right.
And it's still children. It's always the children.
It's always the kids.
Children of the corn, man. Children of the corn.
For this bid for power, and that's what we keep coming back to, right? It's constantly this control, manipulating information, making child soldiers, taking away people's free will. It's all about this bid for power. I want more power. And for Ymir, of course, it was, and this is something I didn't notice on my own, it was pointed out to me, when she dove in front of the spear and took that for him, she looked back at him to like get his approval.
Yeah.
And his response was get up. And because of that lack of humanity that was shown to her, the lack of care for her personhood, that's what made her stay down. And then for him, it was just good, kids, eat. I'll have 3 of you then. It was just
dude, at that point when she just stayed down and died, that I almost viewed it like at that point she was like an automaton or like a robot that just stopped functioning and she just couldn't do it anymore. And then that was just like done.
It's tragic. It was
so
tragic.
So good.
She too, the reveal that she was just looking for someone that. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say a nice little touch. Isayama, completely silent character with Ymir because of what happened with her. Yeah. So like you have to convey it through other means at that point. Yeah.
And he did a brilliant job.
Does a brilliant job of that. Yeah.
Do you remember when Eren finally actually asked her, "What do you want?" And then we finally see her eyes. And
that's
so good.
Oh my god! I was like,
that was
finally,
so good.
Some semblance of life. Like
and it was rage. It was.
She
was like killing everybody, and they were like, "Bet I wanted to do that anyway."
Yeah, that was the original plan, but I just didn't think to. Okay.
Yeah, let's do it. I'll agree with you. I feel like the other good thing about that with the ending, right, is that moment inside of the mouth of the enormous Eren, right? That's starting the rumbling, where Mikasa kills Eren, right? And you get that shot of her kissing his decapitated head.
Yeah.
And Ymir's in the back watching. Understanding what Mikasa went through. Because again, those thoughts of love and rage, the conflicting emotions, much in the same way that she sympathized with Eren, I think in that moment, she's sympathizing with Mikasa in the same way. She sees in herself that love and that passion and that desire to want to please people, but at the same time doing the right thing and what's better for everybody. It's so good. So good. Yeah.
It is so good. He also didn't make the thumbnail. It's just me picking on Jay or picking on Tekken constantly.
Oh wow! I joined later. That's why I'm not in the title.
He said, I'm done.
I'm special guest star. I guess I don't know. So what did you think about the last panel of the kid and his dog finding the tree and like, okay, I guess this is gonna start all over again, except in a actual modern contemporary setting, I guess.
But do you
said a great thing.
Is gonna turn Titan though?
Maybe the kid doesn't. Maybe he decides to not go into the spooky giant cave that's held up by like 2 deities.
But is it determined that the cave will always turn you Titan? I think there were implications that it was Ymir's wish to not die
I thought it was
made her into that.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Also,
So
what is up with the giant centipede thing that actually turns you into a Titan? That's another.
Hold on.
Go ahead, Roger.
What was with the centipede?
I was just gonna say, of all the things that you guys could ask me about to explain and go through and try to like, that's the one thing where I'm like, I gotta go back because I had an explanation for it. There was a lot of stuff tied to like actual prehistory and like the original organism.
Yeah,
and like, there's stuff related to that, but I honestly do not remember.
It's a spinal cord, I think. Like the idea, because there's a spine.
The hallucinogenia it's a spinal cord, but it's also meant to like symbolize the origin of humanity, right?
Yes,
like the first living organism. But I gotta be honest, like I don't remember. That's like the one aspect of it. I was worried when we're coming into this. I'm like, they're gonna ask me to explain the hallucinogenia stuff, and I'm like, I'm not.
The only thing I know about that made me think of is there's an old B movie from like the 1950s called The Tingler, and it's about a creature that lives inside of you that is in the shape of it's basically a giant centipede that comes out of you. Oh, it's a great movie, Murphy. You should watch it.
I do love body horror, but no.
Yeah, it's a good
man.
Movie. Yeah.
So the way it was okay. First of all, I would like it to be known that there is a line when it's first introduced that says we don't know what it is. Could it be some sort of ancient creature? Could it be a godlike thing? Could it be? And it was like speculating, and I was like, we'll go with godlike thing, and I got roasted for thinking that.
Why?
But that's okay. Apparently the accepted headcanon among the fandom is the hallucinogenia thing, which I looked up, and it's a real thing that we've only found fossils of, I'm pretty sure.
Right.
But Zeke explains in the manga that it's essentially within the world of Attack on Titan. It's essentially the beginning of life, and its desire was reproduction. Its desire was to multiply, and that was the thing that kept it alive, and that was the beginnings of life on Earth. So I think Zeke knowing about that thing and knowing about its desires for that was part of his desire to sterilize. Right, because he's humanity's done. Like it's failed experiment, we lose. So in order to stop the war, we're just gonna stop us, essentially.
You know, it really does go back to the whole theme that Isayama has, where it's magic. I mean, people are turning into Titans, but there's a very biological genetic root in a lot of this. Like the spinal cord turns you into a Titan. You bite yourself and you have blood and you turn into a Titan. When you really think about it, Attack on Titan is a mech anime. It's just it's more gooey and muscly than a regular mech anime. But yeah, I mean, like that's kind of the idea. Like it isn't just like, because the original myth is Ymir made a deal with the devil, which I was thinking of like, okay, I want to see how that happened, and it wasn't actually how it played out. It wasn't a real like devil or deity that she made a deal with. It was like a biological organism that did all of this. Yeah.
Which is also like, that goes back to another thing that I also really like about Titan, which is like the way that, where's Jay? He's back.
Hi, Jay.
I was about to text you. I was like, are you good?
No, I'm fine. I just got attacked by the Bodega Lords. I'm back.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
I was going to say, where are you? But like...
He's in his office.
Oh, you have an office? Okay.
I have a studio, yes.
No, he's a big deal.
The Bodega Lords will still come through and stop you no matter what. That's how it works.
All of these YouTubers, mind you, have like 300 plus K subscribers.
You literally also have 100,000 subscribers, bro. Like, what are you talking about?
We got Mr. Nintendo, we got Mr. 800K, Mr. 500K, and BookTuber, and all of that. Me, I'm just a peon. I'm a peasant here. What do you mean?
I only have 730. Just
there you go.
This is 730. It's not even nothing crazy.
The wildest thing about this, Ty was right that there is a One Piece Illuminati. He always says that on all of his streams. He says there's a One Piece Illuminati. Once you hit 100,000 subscribers, you've entered it now. You're there. You're in it.
You can't pretend to be small beans
We've all learned.
Sorry.
You've become, as soon as you get 100K, you become a coordinate. You're like Eren. You see the paths, you see the vision, you see where everything else is moving. There's not a coincidence that now suddenly all these people are angry with Jay and his takes on Wano Country, and he just happened to get 100,000 subscribers. I don't know about all that, Chief. I'm just
to be
saying,
fair,
there's
more just
paths.
taking the heat. More just taking the heat technically. So now I'm no longer the most hated One Piece YouTuber.
Morge is also part of the Illuminati. What are you talking about? Morge is like 300K or something, dude. So what are you talking about? I'm leaking too much. Shab said I'm leaking too much. You're right. You're right. I should take a step back.
I need to know. Build a case. Build a slander case against your least favorite character.
Oh boy. I actually have to look up who my least favorite character would be because I genuinely love. Yeah, because I like so many of the main characters. I can't think of a single one where I'm like.
That's fine.
Really
okay,
like
let me.
There's someone that's trash. I know there.
Let me think. I know there is. Let me look.
Oh, wait a minute. Who's that guy?
Well,
hold on. You know the guy. Who was it? You know.
Yeah, say it with your chest, Jake.
It's Flock.
I said it. I said Flock. I said Flock is that. Flock is garbage.
It's Flock. It's Flock. I agree.
I was gonna say, who was that guy that joined later that wasn't a part of the original cast? Yeah, it was Flock. Yes. Yeah.
But even then, I know don't make me defend Flock, bro. Even then, despite what a scumbag this guy turned out to be, his resilience like a cockroach, literally being dragged by the boat at the ending after being shot, crawling his way out of there and shooting the tank, was actually kind of peak. I actually did really love that moment. I don't like that he
died for that, Roger.
I'm not
you just killed Hanji.
I did not kill Hanji. I'm not defending him. I'm just saying Flock stood on business in a way that I feel like he stood on business. Whereas, you know what? I'll say my least favorite character right here. I know, as we were talking through it, there's another character that didn't fully stand on business, that didn't fully live up to her entire potential. And I feel by the end of everything, just sort of like fell into the background and was just scum and did all the wrong things. And that's Yelena, right? If we're
agreed. Yelena is trash.
If you had the entire cast standing in line and I'm the head of the firing squad, then I say, who are we shooting? Bro, it's Yelena. It's definitely Yelena. Not to say there aren't amazing Yelena moments. You get that beautiful double page spread of her standing with all the planes cheering on the rest of the Yeagerists, but like at the end of the day, it's Yelena. It's for sure Yelena. Yeah.
I would like to throw Rod Rice into the fight ring, please.
He was trash. He's a good one too. He's a good one too. But I feel like Rod though, his Titan form is like one of the most horrifying things.
Oh god, yeah.
When you see his face literally scraping across the ground,
intestines falling out.
Yeah.
No, but all the obvious reasons, but also when he's talking to Historia, he says, "My 5 kids." Or 4 or whatever it was. He doesn't even count her. He's talking to her and he doesn't even count her. She's just the discard. She's just out there in case it's ever necessary. I'm not going to acknowledge you. I'm not going to care about if you're okay. I don't care if you're cared for. And then when he needs her, he goes and grabs her, but then he doesn't even count her among his children as he's recounting his story. Like, brutal. Not only does he suck for all the obvious reasons, but the way he disregarded Historia in every way and then gaslit her and was like, you don't need to know any of the information. Just do the thing and I'll explain later. Knowing that her free will would be stolen if she did the thing. She would have the pacifist inclinations put on her for it. He's the worst.
Can I throw out an honorable mention? He's not trash, but very, very lackluster, inconsequential. Is basically ketchup. And I would say Bertolt is just
poor
okay.
Bertolt is mid.
Eternal simp Bert.
Just mid. Just like the definition of mid. Bertolt,
listen.
No.
Not a single human being in this series rocks a sweater like Bertolt does. You gotta give me that. You gotta give me that much.
The thing
I like
about
his sense of style.
That is so sad is, right? At the end of the series, everyone's friends again. They're all, they're sailing off to go do their duties. You know that Annie and Armin are in a hotel somewhere doing the dirty. And Bertolt is in there watching, bro.
Oh, God.
That's what I'm saying, dude. He's witnessed all of this. He's seen this. He's watching the love of his life lost to this other guy. It's brutal. Also, Fabry, I saw your super chat down below where it said Roger has to admit hallucinogenia turning Connie and the rest of the Titans for half a chapter only to turn them back was Mickey. I agree. I even said that earlier. I said that earlier in the stream. I did say that I did not like that. That was the one aspect of the final chapter that I didn't like after going back and thinking about it. So I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
I agree. Yeah.
A whole bunch of Mickey being thrown out there all of a sudden.
Yeah. Also, I have to take a step back. He's not watching Annie and Armin after Eren because they've eradicated the Titans at that point, right? Yes, however, the lead up to that, some stuff went down in that boat.
Clarify.
I'm telling you, stuff went down on the boat, and he was watching. That's it. I mean, paths, dude. Paths.
The end of the world's happening. I mean, you don't know what's going to be on your mind at that point.
That's what I'm saying. I mean? You can't. Yeah.
I love Bertolt.
I do too, actually. I kind of like.
Do you?
I do. Yeah.
No.
You can't tell me that when he's crying out to everybody and he's like, "Of course we're monsters. Do you want like? Of course we hate ourselves for what we've done." And then he's crying out to them, "Come find us."
I like the moment when they're all like, so they kidnap Eren and Ymir and they take them out into the woods and they have a moment like Eren and Ymir have a moment to like, okay, what? Why are you doing this? What did you do? And one of Eren's first questions is, "Oh God, that's rough. That's rough."
He's a cuckold.
You're fine.
That's crazy.
That's a good
Oh
joke.
man.
But there's one of the first things that Eren brings up to Bertolt is just like, when we were in like the academy together training, I told you about what happened to my, like, I'm literally describing that you murdered my mom, like in front of me. And what did you think about that when I was explaining it to you there? And Bertolt's like, at that moment, I felt sorry for you.
Oh,
like,
it's so bad.
What? You're the one that did it, though. You know,
it's
like,
not good, man.
It's
not good.
So good.
That was rough.
Whereas, like, he's distancing himself from it too, but he didn't go as far as Reiner did with like the multiple personalities or whatever. But he was,
Yeah, but I feel like he was really protecting Reiner the whole time. You know, like,
for sure. Yeah,
trying to snap him back into the correct persona when he's in the certain context.
Bertolt fits into that leader role after a while, where he realizes that, like, okay, there's 4 of us that are over here. One of us is now dead. And now it's just me, Annie, and Reiner. And then Reiner is now going off on the railroad. So it's like, okay, I guess I'm the one that has to make sure this plan goes through all the way.
And there is something to be said about the fact that he is the most iconic Titan of the entire series. Like, people who don't even watch the Titan know the Colossal Titan, right? Yeah. So I feel like that was the other cool thing about Armin, right? Like, when Armin finally gets that power, it's like, bro, Armin is literally becoming like the logo of the series.
The logo
He's
of the
becoming
series,
the mascot of Attack on Titan. That part, and like how that all loops around to the beginning, and Armin literally being the figurehead of all of it, I think is excellent. Yeah.
That's such a good point, because Armin really did kind of become like the character in the end.
He's the character. At the end, he takes responsibility for humanity for killing Eren at the end of everything.
So good.
All right.
Which one of the 9 are your favorite? Controversial judgment call. I'm going to go with the Warhammer Titan, because
I agree.
Warhammer.
I am also full
Warhammer. I made a video about that, and I was like, I'm waiting for it. I want to see what it looks like.
It's the coolest one. It's the coolest one for sure. The worst one. The worst one, the Jaw Titan. Trash.
I agree. Jaw Titan is not good.
I was going to say the
Porco, Jaw Titan.
The Cart Titan. Thank you, Techie.
No. I am not.
It's not bad.
No. I am not having you guys slander Peak. It's not happening.
No. I love Peak. Peak is amazing. The design is horrible.
No, the design is ugly, but the concept.
If we're talking about our favorite Titan, we're not talking about characters.
I did ask the favorite. I did ask what your
favorite was. Okay, favorite by design though, or favorite in terms of power? Because Cart Titan power is actually broken.
How about favorite in general, but I'll also clarify which, because obviously, like, Grisha's and Eren's Attack Titan are a little different. That kind of stuff. Wait, what?
He's got the crash out cover. No, I'm sitting at 4. Murphy's sitting at 3.
Techie, you need to crash out.
Oh, okay.
I will say though, we haven't brought up the brotherhood discussion either. We talked about Zeke without talking about his love for brotherhood. Now we're bringing up the Jaw Titan. There was that whole episode that I thought was one of the strongest episodes in the series of the one of brotherhood, and it was 3 brothers with Falco and what's his brother's name?
Colt. Is it Colt and Porto?
Colt.
Yeah. Colt is his brother.
Porco.
Yes.
Yeah.
Porco.
Yes, and we watched the 3 brothers sacrifice for each other in different ways. Do any of y'all have any thoughts on how that episode went? 2 brothers. Yes, thank you.
2 brothers.
I don't want to make a meme, but this is true. I loved my favorite part of any of those episodes is the moment where Peak says, "Good morning, Porco." That line read, I melted. That's it. That's all I have to say about that.
I remember.
It is what it is.
Remember that.
I have to go back.
It made the rounds. It made the rounds. I'm not gonna lie.
It was a moment in time you had to be there for. You know?
Okay.
Twitter was very. I remember that, Roger.
Because that was like where she was crawling on the couch and stuff, and you were like, "What in the world?"
Oh, Twitter
Murphy's like, "I don't remember this." See, this is
Twitter. Murphy,
you weren't there.
So what you missed, Murphy, was the month-to-month Attack on Titan experience, right? There was the Gabi Nene. That's why, you know what? That might be where my Gabi hatred came from. Gabi Gang was insufferable before she was redeemed. Gabi Gang was the worst cult I've ever seen in history.
I would join it.
Terrible creatures, right? There was just all the little baby Gabi Nene everywhere, all dancing on dead bodies.
I've seen it. I danced to it.
It was disgusting. I hated it.
Oh, man.
Peak, and that was prime degeneracy for Attack on Titan. They couldn't handle it.
I can bring it back to a real answer, though. If you want me to bring it back to a real answer, the stuff with like the themes of brotherhood, I will. I just genuinely think it is when we got this sort of response. Look, I'm giving a real answer. I'm sorry. All right. I'm never beating the Genshin Impact player allegations. I know it's true, but just listen. All right. It's just crazy. I read that and I was laughing so much. What I will say is I think that goes back to the conversation that we had earlier about like parallels and like cycles, right? Like we talked about the cycle of hatred, the cycle of love. I would say the cycle of brothership is also another big thing regarding the series, right? It's like the feeling of camaraderie, not just in terms of the people that you are seeing in a day-to-day basis, but like your own people, right? On a greater scale, the people of Marley and the people of Paradise and the tribalism behind all of it. And like, standing up for what you're believing in and the loss of someone important to you leading ultimately to your own downfall, right? By creating a more violent environment based on you not handling your loss well, right? Like, I think you even see this theming with Eren as well, obviously. It's like all the way from the smallest characters to the final villain. You have this idea of not being able to cope with your own loss. And instead taking the easy way out, right? By exacting revenge, where you can take a minute and step back and go, well, hold on. We need to end this cycle of violence. We need to end the cycle of hatred. But time and time again, humanity takes the easy road and says, no, we got to do what we got to do. We got to have revenge. Same with the situation, right? Where you were talking about like the Jaw Titan earlier and the stuff with Porco and then eventually Ymir and the Dancing Titan and like what that meant and why Bertolt and Reiner hated her so much. Like there's a lot of stuff like that throughout the series. I would even say to an extent the stuff with Kenny, right? And like Kenny raising Levi and what that meant for Levi being the one to take him out and like the fighting that happened there and also Historia, right? Like Historia having the struggle between her own people being the Reyes family that she wants so much to be a part of, but at the same time is never going to be loved because of what you brought up with Rod saying like, I don't even consider you one of my own children. So there's a lot of stuff like that. So again, I feel it's just like one moment within a multitude of moments within this series and just how well that, again, the cycle of the themes, not just the cycle of the story, right? But literally like how the themes within the story cycle and just go to show that humanity is going to say the same mistake over and over again. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect.
That's my actual answer.
That's a good one.
It's not just speak.
Perfectly put. And also Kenny and Yuri, not only do they also embody, go ahead, Techie.
I love that episode. That's probably one of my favorite episodes of all time is just the backstory of Rod and Yuri and Kenny. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, I completely agree. Because it encompasses the free will and being servitude to something, which I think just holds that much more impact now that we know Ymir's story and what began all of this. But then also it brings us back to the conversation that we had around the campfire, which is that if we would just talk, like if we would just sit down and try to understand each other, how much farther along could we be?
Yes.
And we saw that embodied around that campfire with them finally connecting, very unlikely group of people finally connecting and getting to fight side by side. But also Marco, his last words were, why won't you just talk to me? Why won't you just respond to me? It was that pleading of conversation. Armin, when he was pleading for Bertolt to stop and just have a conversation, Bertolt stopped. I'm pretty sure it was Bertolt and not Reiner. One of them stopped.
It was Bertolt. Yeah,
it was Bertolt. Thank you.
Yeah.
He stopped because he remembered that last pleading moment from Marco and he wanted to hear Armin out. Armin, when he got shot, he was trying to talk to them, but he couldn't because he was shot in the face. Like, this is a theme that comes up over and over again, and they were the embodiment of that before we got it around the campfire with our final crew that fought together in the very end. It was it's a small arc, but it's a really, really important one for the story.
I was looking in the chat at a bunch of stuff when you were mentioning that, and it reminded me of another scene that I like really love, which I think also perfectly encapsulates what you were just talking about, which is that moment of Theo McGath and Keith Shaddis on the boat. And both of the mentors, both of the mentors being like, this is what we need to do to ensure like the next generation lives on.
Yes.
And they were ones literally training these kids. They were the ones actively indoctrinating them. And you would think it would be the most difficult for those two characters to actually get out of that situation. But coming to that agreement on the boat and them, you know, blowing themselves up, and that amazing moment right at the very ending where they're like, by the way, I didn't even know, what's your name? And like, they're about to die. It's not even going to matter. And he's like, what was your name? And he says, you know, Keith Shaddis, Theo McGath. And then the boat explodes. Gorgeous. Yeah.
Agreed.
Gorgeous
Shaddis
moment.
might be the most underrated character.
Shaddis is
so
like
good.
the reveal where it's like, oh yeah, he was the dude in the first episode and he knew Grisha and everything. I was like, what?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow. That's a good
Yeah.
tie back. That's also once again from the beginning, like Isayama already had this planned out.
And even the theming of pixies, right? Every time we see pixies early on in the story,
Pixis,
right? Where they're him and the other Garrison guy, I forgot what his name is, but like where they're always drinking.
I know what you're talking about.
They're always drinking. The whole story, they're
Honest,
drinking. They're alcoholics. So when you get to that point where they were like, he put the spinal fluid in the wine, like, of course they're going to be affected. Like, and again, it's telegraphed multiple times throughout the course of the story that they like their liquor, and that would eventually be their downfall. So good. Yeah.
And on that note, the scene where Zeke is in the forest and he's surrounded by all the cadets and he asks the question, is there any wine left? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. So good.
And Levi's like, no, it's all gone. All the cadets drank it. And then Zeke is like, okay. And that's when he transfers. I'm like, oh my goodness. That's when he runs. It was so good. It was such a clever line. And I didn't catch it. People could. You could be like, put two and two together and know exactly what Zeke's planning, but I didn't. So when he started running and then he transformed and then they transformed, it was like, it was so good.
So good.
Another reason I hate Gabi, mentioning, right? So they keep mentioning Nicolo, and it's another reason, right? I got Roger's 5th crash out. That's great. I was aiming for the 5. It's just like Nicolo's story. His from being someone that was basically a prisoner of war to cooking for Sasha because of Sasha's insatiable, voracious stomach, and the fact that they became a love story only for Sasha. The one where he became a cook for her, mastered the art of cooking, said this one's gonna eat my food for the rest of my life. I'm gonna dedicate my life to her. Finds out Gabi killed her, crashes out in the craziest way, completely like kill her,
breaking the bottle and everything.
Breaking the bottle, kill
her. Got the spinal fluid in his mouth.
Yes, and it was just like. And in that moment, I was like, finally, justice. I was like, yes, Nicolo, you are representing me.
That's such a powerful moment in character development there, because it's like when the people from Marley were like captured by, you know, the people on the island. And it's just like, okay, your entire life, you've been raised to know that like, yeah, everybody on this island is a devil that could turn into a monster that'll kill you. And it's like how they got along and how they like threw food there with Nicola and Sasha. But like, there's like other ways, you know?
Yeah.
So good.
It's good.
Yeah.
We have been here for 2 hours, so I'll wrap it up soon. But is there anything else that y'all want to discuss that we haven't talked out yet?
Can I ask something just of the three of you, which is you'd mentioned right at the very beginning of this about like what the next cycle could be if that kid goes to the tree, right? Like what could eventually happen. I thought about this a lot. I am of the mindset that I don't ever want a sequel, but I would love a prequel. I would love not even a prequel manga, but I would love like one-off stories, kind of in the style that they do the Death Note one-offs every once in a while. I would love one-offs with some of the other Titans that you see emerge from Eren's back when you have like all of them together and Armin's the Singularity, and you see all these. Some of those characters have like insane designs. And I would love to see what those people were like in their own time periods as those shifters and as those Titans, like what their stories were, who knew each other. And I think there's interesting stuff that you could sort of break out from that. But I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts. Sequel or like prequel anthology?
Go ahead. Murphy.
I personally don't want either. I think the story gave me exactly as much as I want and gave me enough for me to speculate on what was before and what comes after. Valid. And so to give me more, I feel would cheapen, or not cheapen, but it would take away that opportunity for the reader to just keep thinking on it.
I'm on a similar mind. I would just say I would probably be more of a like. Part of me is like, yeah, I kind of want to know where this goes in like a post-apocalyptic kind of like contemporary, like nuclear war happened, Titans in that kind of society. That would be interesting, but not for. I think I'm going to rein that in and just say, I'm good. I'm good with what we have. I'm good with where we're at. Yeah, that's what.
What was that smirk, Jay? Because I think both of you are totally spot on too. That if we were going to actually, like, if I had to choose. Like I said, I would choose the prequel over the sequel, like some type of anthology thing, but I am also perfectly content with that ending. But I did not like the smirk that was on Jay's face as you two were talking. So, I was like, where is this going?
So I am a proponent of everything is fine. We don't need anything else. Cool. Because I think if we just, what's going to happen is just a repeat of the cycle. I think the only way that would ever going back to that tree is just a repeat of the cycle, because humanity cannot help itself. No matter how much that we want to progress, we just find a different way to do the exact same thing. And that's something that this is why I love Isayama's story. Just from a philosophical standpoint, there's some things I had gripes with why it's an 8 out of 10. But in terms of like the philosophy of it, humanity likes to believe that they are progressing and that they're going to do better. It's just that things change around us, like the environment changes, what we believe in changes,
technology, all that,
do the same thing every single time. And as I watch the way the world is today, we act like we're so different than the ancient times, the past times. And I'm like, you're literally doing the exact same thing with new tools. That's all it is. The only thing that has changed.
We have cell phones now, Jay. It's not like it's the past.
But it's the same things. And you see it at a micro level and you see it at a macro level.
Sure.
We can even see it as content creators, and we can see it in like comment sections and Twitter posts. And then we see it at a micro level where you look at countries that are justifying the things that they're doing. And the common man is like, yeah, but that's wrong. Why? How is it possible that we can justify this? Even though a lot of people think it's wrong, there's literally a whole section of people think, no, but like, I get what they're coming from. Why do do you know what I'm saying? So it's like,
I do. I understand exactly what you're saying.
If we go at the tree, it's literally the same thing is going to happen again. So for me, it ending is peace. I'm like, thank God, because I don't want to see what's going to happen after that. Because there's no way.
The fact that the kid is approaching the tree with a companion and with exploration on his heart instead of fear and resisting and wanting to stay alive means that what would be fulfilled in him may be different. So maybe his cycle, while you're right, Jay, and I completely agree that one of the core messages in the story is that humanity isn't going to get out of the forest unless we all start fighting to get out of the forest, but that the cycle will remain. That said, I am curious because I personally think that the kid's cycle would be different. I think that whatever comes of him would be different and it would look different the next time. In what way, I don't know.
What if it's like kind of, so Ymir found the tree out of like her life of oppression and she wanted to escape from that. And that's what led to this. Versus the kid who is trying to like, let's say he does live in like, because it was like a city and then it was bombed into oblivion. So it's like, you know, post-apocalyptic and stuff. Sure. He finds the tree out of like hope for rebuilding humanity. So it's a completely different road he goes down.
Yeah, I love that.
How wild would that be if like there was a follow-up manga for Attack on Titan that was just hopeful? It's like he still connects with the hallucinogenia, can still turn people into titans, but they're doing good things. They're actually rebuilding for humanity. They're coming together. They're using the Titan powers for good.
He makes 9 new Titans, and it's Hope Titan.
It's Hope Titan.
Hope Titan.
Peace, the Peace Titan, the Love Titan, the Abundance Titan,
and then at the end of that series, everybody still dies.
Right, it's crazy.
That would actually be cool though, because Isayama could probably do that. He could probably be like, oh, let's take these positive attributes and twist them to make them horrible.
Yeah,
like there you go.
So the one thing that I'd like to assert, you were gonna say something, right?
No, go for it.
Okay. So one thing that I've learned, and I can't say this is an original idea because I got this from a video that I watched from Radman a very long time ago. And he mentioned that a lot of these characters always have good intentions with the things that they try to start. Zeke's idea had good intentions. Eren's idea had good intentions, but they always devolve into depravity because it's like they didn't know what they believed. What they initially planned turned out to be evil. It turned out to only cause destruction and more division. And no matter how good those two people that came up to that tree, no matter how good their intentions would be, it would eventually be corrupted. And that is my one thing. I think that's one of the things Isayama really pointed out is no matter what your intention is, it will be corrupted by humanity.
That just makes me think if he just took a direct reference from Tolkien there with the One Ring and just be like, whoever finds this thing, it doesn't matter if you have good intentions with it. It's Sauron. You're gonna be warped by it eventually.
Always corrupt.
That's why you need friends. You need a Samwise.
You need Nakama. That's it. That's the whole theme of One Piece.
Armin is not Samwise.
So
Armin, you sucked as a Samwise.
I will give Isayama credit that he's way more hopeful than Togashi is, because Togashi is like humanity is terrible.
Oh god, yeah, with the rose and stuff. Yeah, that's
my god.
The way that Netero defeats Meruem.
Yeah,
with that final line is like, you don't know anything about the bottomless malice of humanity. You're like only a week old. You don't understand what we're capable of.
You have no idea what you're dealing with, though. They will find the worst way to get rid of you.
That is a fascinating way to look at it, too, because I never really, until you just brought it up, considered that, Attack on Titan is slightly more hopeful than Togashi.
It's way more hopeful than Togashi.
And then, again, like, on the other side of the spectrum, right? I feel like One Piece is incredibly hopeful, right? It's like taking down this tyrannical world government, like wanting to see a better place, freeing everyone. And it's like, those are still my 3 favorites. One Piece, Hunter x Hunter, and Attack on Titan are my 3 favorite series, period, no matter what. They might shift on certain days, but they are my 3 favorites. So it is funny to see, it's like literally all sides of the spectrum.
All sides of the spectrum.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the perfect example. Look at Gon at the beginning of the story, and then Gon by the end of the Chimera Antarctic. And like, that happened.
That kid
Hey, but at least he's got a friend in Killua. At least he's got a friend.
Well, they
have you read Attack on Titan,
because they kind of was like,
I'm sorry, not Attack on Titan.
Hunter x Hunter,
yes. Have you read Hunter x Hunter?
Yeah, Hunter x Hunter is, to this day, the Chimera Ant arc has affected me on a level that very few pieces of media ever have.
Lovely.
Imagine if in One Piece kills 80% of humanity. I am under the impression a lot of people need to die by the end of this is going to be a huge end game.
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
I sure hope so.
This is not. You said something very Tekken. I don't know what you've done in the space
I don't know
of
what
an
happened.
hour.
2
you
hours.
have shocked my spirit 3 different times because you saying that it's just. Not
because like there's this massive thing with the world government and Dragon leading a revolution. It's like this isn't just going to end with like, oh, it's a good thing we just took out the Tenryubito and everybody else was fine. Nobody died from this. Everybody's happy now. That's not how Oda's going to do this shit. That's way too clean, man. Yeah,
I agree. I
don't say 80% of the way people are going to die, but
we have 2 super chats I'm going to end on.
Yeah.
Did any of you read Levi's one-shot chapter?
I have not.
That was released this year.
Oh, not this year. No, I haven't read the one this year. No.
Okay, I haven't either. I did read the one-shot chapter that was in the story and that they made an OVA about.
Right.
But I haven't read anything that was recently released. And then to end it on a toxic note, One Piece, Hunter x Hunter, AOT.
Oh, this is rough for me. Okay, Attack on Titan for me would be 3rd. It's just a debate whether or not One Piece or Hunter x Hunter goes first. Okay. And I feel like I'm obligated to say One Piece first. And then Hunter x Hunter is very high up there. Yes, it's good. I'll go One Piece, Hunter x Hunter, and then AOT.
Go ahead, Jay.
Roger,
I know
go
Hunter
ahead,
Hunter is
Roger.
your go.
No, how about you go first, Jay? How about you go first?
Yo, no, obviously Hunter x Hunter is number one for me. That's my number one manga. My number one series, anime manga all the time, is actually Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. That is my pinnacle. Like that is from beginning to end, perfection. That's the only 10 out of 10 I have right now because it's finished.
We gotta talk about that sometime. Yeah,
I really want because I'm gonna rewatch it and I'm literally gonna have a stream on it. You guys are all invited because I'm
awesome. I rewatch it every few years and it's so good. Yeah.
Murphy, have you seen it? You have. Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because I've heard you haven't watched Gurren Lagann, so I was just a little.
I would be fascinated to know what you think of Gurren. As somebody who did not grow up with you, both of you grew up with Gurren Lagann, right? You watched it when you were younger.
I watched like the first season when I was in high school. I don't remember. I didn't see the whole thing. Yeah,
that is, I think, the correct time to watch Gurren Lagann. I feel very strongly. I've done videos about this. I feel very strongly that Gurren Lagann is best watched when you are of that age. And I find that when you are an adult trying to resonate with some of the themes, it doesn't quite hit nearly as hard. It's still a well-made series. Fantastic. It's great. And I can understand why people loved it, but I watched it for the first time as like a grown adult 2 years ago. And I'm like, okay. Like, I don't know if I love Simone, but like, I get where you're coming from. I'm not going to say too much else. I feel like you watch it.
I feel like you're dodging the question. Rank them, Roger.
Rank them.
Oh, I'm not. No, I'm the one who said this before. That's totally fine. At the time of release, as somebody who's experienced Attack on Titan, new Hunter x Hunter chapters, and new One Piece chapters, nothing quite hits in terms of a new chapter like Attack on Titan. Nothing. Even the peak of One Piece, even the peak of Hunter x Hunter, nothing quite hit the same desire, like drive to, I have to know what happens. I'm sitting on this. And I think a lot of that is due to the fact that it's monthly versus when Hunter x Hunter comes back, it's weekly. And when One Piece, we're spoiled with One Piece, right? We get One Piece all the time. We're inundated with One Piece, right? There's the One Piece. There's the live action One Piece. There's One Piece anime. There's One Piece manga. You can't escape One Piece. So for me, I can never even really take a breather from it to miss it. Right. Yeah. Even now, I feel like with the anime on break and him going on break for all his other, his health stuff, I'm still like, I don't quite miss it. I'm not missing One Piece. I'm excited to see what the next chapter is, but I don't have that level of, I really do miss Attack on Titan the same way. So I'd say Attack on Titan, I would say would be manga, but I also think it's kind of cheating because it's completed. And I think I want to be able to go back once all 3 series are completed, if Hunter x Hunter is ever completed, and he manages to hand it over to his wife, which he well should, because again, his wife, the amazing artist behind Sailor Moon, is learning Togashi's style. Togashi could write up the story. She could do the art. It would be lovely. Show me my shoujo Hisoka, please and thank you. I would love it, but that's a different story for a different conversation. I want that. Now, in terms of anime, there is no question. I thought about this a lot. AOT to me has always been the pinnacle of a completed anime. However,
season 1 through 3, right?
Season 1 through 3. Exactly. My man knows where he's going. Something changed within Tekken today. Exactly. Whereas consistency all the way through is Hunter x Hunter. Hunter x Hunter is the most easily rewatchable of all of the 3. I'm
rewatching it right now.
Ironically, it is the series I've rewatched the most. It took me 3 tries to get through the Hunter exam. That was rough.
And I feel that.
Once I passed that threshold, once I got to like Heaven's Arena, I was like, this is really, really good.
Yes.
Because that's when you get the power system. And Nen is the best power system, hands down. Better than Devil Fruits. It's better than
You are spinning.
Better than Chakra. It's better than
It's not close.
It's not close. I agree.
It's everything. Nen is amazing. It's better than pretty much any. It's better than Alamancy from the Mist. It's better than everything. It's just amazing.
Look at you dropping a book reference.
I read stuff.
Amazing. I will say,
I bought a Kindle and I read a book in a week.
Reagan is forcing me. He's forcing me to read ACOTAR for the first time. I'm literally reading ACOTAR for the first time over the course of this winter break. So I will come back and let you know what I think of A Court of Thorn and Roses. But I
hate that series, but I'm glad.
Oh, good. Okay. So does Reagan, which is why
Reagan and I should talk.
You should. You absolutely should, because she also hates that series and everybody else loves it. So I am fascinated to see how I'm going to feel about all that. But what I will say, and clearly we're all in agreement with the Hunter x Hunter rewatchability thing and all that stuff. I will say that my overall, the one that obviously consumes my mind the most, and I think this is probably the same for all of us, is still One Piece. I think One Piece to me, it is the one of the three I grew up with, right? And Attack on Titan, I like semi grew up with because it came out right, like the very beginning of it came out like the first year of college for me. So I like my formative college years were Attack on Titan, but like my childhood, the thing I would like go to Barnes and Noble and look at the volumes at and like read with my parents, and like it's One Piece. And I think there's nothing that can remove that from me, even when I have issues with the series. But I think that goes to, Jay's point he just made in his recent video, right? Is that deep love of the series is why I am so critical of it, right? And because there is so much content to consume versus the 400 chapters of Hunter x Hunter, 139 chapters of Attack on Titan, right? Because there's more, naturally there's going to be more that I have an issue with. But overall, of course, like One Piece is still forever in my heart.
It's One Piece, yeah.
So overall would be One Piece, anime would be Hunter x Hunter, manga would be Attack on Titan.
There you go.
Yeah.
You know something that's crazy that I'd mention is that if you ever think about just pre-time skip One Piece, I don't think there's anything in the medium that beats One Piece pre-time skip.
Pre-time skip,
I literally don't think. I just don't think anything touches One Piece. Like literally nothing, from start to finish.
Taking objects.
I would say Hunter x Hunter has an easy. I think it could.
Still,
I think very very highly of Hunter x Hunter. I think
so. I do too, because it's my number.
Yeah.
It's my number one. It's my number one series, manga and anime combined. Right.
I'd have to like. That's something that I could scratch my brain around and sit down and actually go through the story beats.
And think about it.
Pre-time skip One Piece is really high up there, but Hunter x Hunter's really York New City, man.
Wow, that's shocking to me.
Oh my
Tagashi, it's the completionist nature in Tagashi. The dude designed an entire card game. He didn't even use the whole thing, but he designed the whole thing.
That card
that is
Great Island is very underrated. Great Island is so underrated.
I love Great Island. It might be
Great
Island so underrated.
Then Oda also this is post-time skip, but he came up with 85 different children for Big Mom and 36 islands of Totland. We don't see 80% of them, but he came up with concepts for every single one of them. He didn't need to do that. That. Oh man, it's tough. That's tough.
It's weird too, because I don't think pre-time skip One Piece. I think I'm in agreement with Jay on this. I do still think I'm kind of like nothing kind of tops that run of pre-time skip, but that's only because, again, I did not grow up with Hunter x Hunter. I feel like I may have felt differently if I did.
Well, I didn't either, and I guess
it's true. But I binged Hunter x Hunter. I think it was when I dropped One Piece. I dropped One Piece in Wano Act 2, and then I finally was like, I need something else to cleanse my palate. Okay. And it was the only time in the history of my YouTube channel in which I dropped One Piece. And I watched Hunter x Hunter, and I was like, wait a minute, this is kind of peak.
I think I would still give it to One Piece, because Hunter x Hunter, the only thing I could say the faults of it is, like I said, it took me a long time to get into it, like 3 or 4 attempts at the Hunter exam and the Zoldyck arc. But then East Blue, I was hooked from the time Luffy met Zoro at Shellstown in chapter 3. I was like, I'm on board.
And as much as I love Chimera, and I'm glad you brought up York New being again peak, because I think that's my favorite arc of the series.
York New and Chimera usually are the most.
And Chimera is great, but I think thinking back on it, right, how I felt at the beginning of Chimera and how I hear so many people talk about it as well, where it's kind of a little bit of a slog and a little bit of a push once you get to the actual good stuff. Obviously, the good stuff is the stuff we remember, so who cares? You can get that little bit. But then when you think about Palm and the stuff with the date with Gon, and there is stuff where I'm
there's some that's fucking. Why would you do that to Gashi? That's what.
Right. But I also agree. I like Green Island a lot. I like the card game. And again, for people who are manga readers, the stuff that's happening right now with another certain card game, it's cool to see how he develops rule sets. So very good. Yeah.
Murphy, what were your answers?
Oh, darn. I thought I was going to escape.
No, you're not escaping. You're not escaping nothing.
Okay. Well, after that wonderful conversation, for me, it would be One Piece, AOT, Hunter x Hunter.
Okay.
I love Hunter x Hunter too, but we are putting some really great series against each other here. And I think that, like I said, Hunter x Hunter has one of the best arcs I've ever read, but overall it slips down beneath.
Which one?
the Chimera Ant.
Okay, I was gonna. Well, some people really put York New higher up than Chimera.
York New was excellent.
Definitely
and I love
see
Green
that
Island
argument.
as well.
Like, I can kind of see it. Yeah.
So one thing I do want to ask you guys is, who has read Volume 0 of Hunter x Hunter, like the Kurapika backstory?
When the movie came out. Yeah, I've read it. It's been a long time, but I did read it when it. Yeah.
So I hadn't read it until recently, and it made York New so much higher on my list. I understood after reading that. I was like, oh no, York New is a lot stronger than I thought it was.
Not just York New, but the current arc as well. It actually makes the current arc and York New way better. I agree. Yeah. Completely agree. Yes.
Murphy, if you have not read it, I suggest you 100% read it.
Okay.
100%. Yes.
And it's a very easy read. It's a light read.
It isn't.
It's very quick.
There's that, and there's also a Hisoka prequel that I did. Remember that?
That prequel was good too. That was good.
I put that off for a long time.
I don't know if I want a focused Hisoka story.
No,
yes,
but
you do.
like
yes, you
it
do.
exists. If you want to know how
really
he ended up where he ended up, like it's there.
Wait! Don't end the stream yet. I have to get it.
Okay.
Okay, Techie, how do you rate? We got the 10 out of 10 from Roger. We got the 8 out of 10 from Jay. How do you rate Attack on Titan?
I'd probably be with Jay on that one. Probably like 8 out of 10. I go on that one. Yeah.
I think it's a 9 for me. I
Once
said
again,
9.5
after I do a
when I
reread, we'll
finished
see.
it.
Yeah.
With some space, thinking through all the different elements, I think it's a 9. But on rewatch, it could be higher.
Oh, there's Hisoka.
I love it. Love it.
Absolutely love it. Love it.
He is extraordinarily problematic.
There's he's the most problematic.
He is extraordinarily by design. He kind of is.
That moment in Green Island with Hisoka. Oh my god! I can't defend that. I can't.
No, you can't. He's awful.
You don't need to try. I don't think we're supposed to try to defend it.
No,
where we're at. I'm not going to spoil anything in the manga where we're at right now. Well, Crowlow's gonna murder the shit out of Hisoka, and I'm gonna like watch and enjoy.
Oh, see, this is a topic for a different live stream then, because
Crowlow murdering Hisoka.
Fully disagree. Yeah, fully disagree.
Oh no,
but that's a topic for a different live stream.
Yeah, that's.
But the reason I brought that out is because Reagan is in a situation in which she actually has not watched Attack on Titan yet. She knows the story beats because she heard me screaming about him in the other room, but she doesn't actually. Yeah, she actually hasn't watched the whole thing.
Like
she's caught up to One Piece. There you go. She's caught up to One Piece and she's caught up to Hunter x Hunter and has rewatched Hunter x Hunter numerous times. I have never in my life, and I find this troubling, seen her thirst over an anime character more than Hisoka. She has Hisoka pop things on the back of her phone. She's got Hisoka statues. She's got every piece of Hisoka merch ever made.
I don't know that you need to expose her like that.
She's exposing herself. She's talking about this openly. She genuinely loves Hisoka, but I do find the true degeneracy and villainy within him being such an interesting thing when you see where and proving
he's a villain.
Togashi, where Jay was bringing up Togashi's point about seeing the worst in humanity. There's no better answer. Yeah. I mean, that's your answer. I have not. Nor do I ever plan to.
Seems like you should.
I will not. It's not going to happen.
Cap on the stream.
No. She can cosplay all my Genshin Impact waifus, but I am never putting on that clown suit.
You know, I played Genshin for like a month, and I was into it for like. There was a small moment where I thought I was going to get addicted to Genshin, and I just kind of slipped out, and I didn't actually.
Don't get into it. I'm telling you, as somebody who
played it for like a month.
Don't do it.
Yeah,
don't do it. Honkai's better anyway. Honkai Star Rail is way better than Genshin, and the waifus are better too. But that's
I'm doing an honor.
And those Bondos. Murphy, you're going to see Zhongli. You're going to see some of these characters. You're going to say they're absolute peaks. So, something for everybody.
Slagathor is in the chat, and she regularly just sends me screenshots of Genshin. Just whenever she thinks that I'll like something, she's like, look how pretty. Look at this underwater city that I'm exploring. And I'm like, awesome.
Yeah.
Fontaine is peak. That's the best. That's the best arc of Genshin. I agree. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Fontaine is peak. Yeah.
I've never played, but she sure does want me to. Yeah. Well, I will end the stream here. Thank you, all of you, for coming.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much for having us.
It was perfect.
That was
great. I had nothing else going on. Yeah.
But I'm glad
you literally made our year. The fact that you said all the stuff that you said made my year. It made my life.
Roger. I'm happy
I feel so
for
vindicated. You. I love this.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome. There you go.
Well, this was a blast. So thank you all for joining. Thank you, chat, for being here. I appreciate you all, and we will see you again another time.
Bye everybody.